You good? Great, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Tonight is Tuesday, January 21st. Tonight we have a planning and zoning meeting, public hearing, and general meeting. We are here tonight. It's about 7 o'clock in room 206 in Town Hall. So let's get right into it. The first item on the agenda is proposed amendment to the Darien Zoning Map, COZM number 1, 2025. First one, Bob, look at you. PL 24-160 put forth by 328 Hoyt Street, LLC. Proposal to rezone 328 Hoyt Street and 57 Greenwood Avenue, currently in the split R1 half and R1 third zone, entirely into the R1 third zone by shifting the zoning boundary to the north to align with the northern property line of these two lots. The proposed amendment will correct a discrepancy in the current zoning map. The proposed amendment is on file and available in the Town Clerk's office and in the Planning and Zoning office for inspection online at ct.viewpointcloud.com as PL 24-160. Gentlemen, what do we have?
Yeah, Steve, this proposal is to amend the Darien Zoning Map to move the current map boundary between the R1 third and R1 half residential zones to the northerly property boundary of 328 Hoyt Street and 57 Greenwood Avenue. The purpose of the application put forth by the applicant is to correct a discrepancy in the location of the zone boundary related to the conversion to a digital zoning map many years ago. The Town Plan of Conservation Development recommends that where appropriate, the Commission reduce the number of residential properties split into multiple zoning districts, and that is essentially what's happening here. The proposed revision is consistent with the Town Plan of Conservation Development, and we note as staff that the proposed revision will not result in the creation of any additional lots. 326 Hoyt Street is not large enough to divide into two building lots, and 57 Greenwood Avenue does not have the necessary frontage or lot depth to divide into two building lots. The application was referred out to Westcog. We received comments back from that agency on December 5th. They note the opinion of Westcog staff is that the proposal is of local interest and with minimal intermunicipal impact. Therefore, it is not being forwarded to adjacent municipalities, and the regional staff is making no comment. The applicant's representative, Mr. Bob Maslin, is here this evening to present the details of the application and answer any questions you may have.
Fantastic. 1 second. With regards to 57 Greenwood, they probably could figure out a way to split that in half. What do you think? As making it a flag lot?
Well,
No.
that zone would not allow flag lots because that's the R1 third or R1 fifth zone.
Great.
We did talk to Mr. Maslin about it. I think he's going to cover that question during his presentation. It's a good question. And when Bob first discussed this with us, we talked about that. And so Bob will cover that question.
Okay. Welcome, Bob. We're going to have you state your name for the record, but just as edification, we caught a bunch of these, like 9 last go around when we did this. I'm surprised we missed yours, but to me it's pretty straightforward, so
It is.
we can bang this one out.
For the record, Robert Maslin, representing 328 Hoyt Street LLC, the owner of the corner lot, the Hoyt Street lot.
Do they also own 57 Greenwood?
No. Before I start, Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you.
I think this is the first meeting I've been to this year. And I will try to focus on the 2 or 3 items that Fred missed.
Yeah.
So I have my usual PowerPoint presentation. As Fred mentioned, there is a discrepancy in the location of the boundary. There's some confusion, and there's actually a discrepancy between the zone map itself and the zoning overlay on the town's GIS map, which I will illustrate as I go through this. The other aspect is to move this lot, the zone boundary on the corner lot, literally 10 feet north to run along the property boundary. On 57, it's a little bit greater distance, but the point is, Greenwood is all highly dense. As you go north up Hoyt Street, it's much less dense because it's a different zone. So here's kind of the overlay, or the overview. The map on the right is a 500-foot radius around these two lots. This aerial on the left is virtually the same map, except it's got the photograph in it. Okay, this all goes back to a 1960 approved subdivision map, which was recorded as map number 3081. You'll see over here it says subdivision approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and can't read the name on it, but so here's what it is. Oh, basically this is Greenwood here, Hoyt Street, and this was a subdivision that created all these lots. I blew this up a little bit so that you can see the property boundary, which now north is to the bottom, but this is the way the typeface is. So here's your northern boundary. It runs along this old watercourse that's no longer there, and then zigs and zags, and it goes over to the Norotan River, which is actually the Stamford Darien town line. So here's the zone boundary. It's between the R1/2 and R1/3 zone, and you can see the difference here. If you scale it and compare it with this 10-foot easement, that's what you're talking about, 10 feet.
Yeah. The easiest thing to look at is the zoning map, which I'm guessing is your next page, right?
Yes.
Yeah, why don't you just flip to that and you can see
Okay,
it
well, the
sticks
other
out.
thing to point out is, because there was a question about this, this boundary is 110 feet. And if you took out the 10 feet between the boundary and the zone boundary, you'd end up with 100 feet. So, here you are. The 100 feet is called out here, but it doesn't say where the 100 feet's measured from. So the prior map tells us that it's measured from the property boundary, not the center line of Greenwood.
Can you blow that one up so everyone can
Blow
see?
it up a little more?
Yeah, blow it up 2 more, and you can show the little piece that sticks out.
That better?
Yeah, yep, that's it.
Okay.
Should just pick up the 2 lots and show the difference between the orange and the yellow.
This is all the 1/3 zone. This is, I think, 1/5. I mean, this is even denser. And you can see what happened here was they took the zone boundary that runs along the north boundary of Kensett, and you just made it a straight line all the way across.
Yeah, just point to your lot. That's the first one.
Corner lot,
You see the
this
little,
is 57.
see the little orange in the top, and then the
you can
left,
see-
little orange in the top.
This is the property boundary up here. So there's a little sliver of orange here and here. The other thing to mention is it's supposed to be parallel with that line, but it's not. It's just a kind of a weird thing that happened when the mapping was converted over to digital, and then this overlay zone was created for Kensett.
Right, and like 4 years ago, we caught this on every single one of these.
Yeah, there were a few. The
One we didn't like. really
digital
work.
conversion occurred about 1999, and we spent a lot of time methodically going through, and there happened a few through the years that we realized, oh, yeah, you can see, and you have to, just what you just did, you have to magnify it 2 or 3 times and say, oh, that line should be a little more, and so you realize. And then the issue here is, could it just be adjusted a few feet to the north, which would make it to the north side of these 2 properties?
So why don't you
Sometimes-
flip to your, in the town PDOC, where it says we're supposed to fix these
Yes.
issues, and then we're done, right?
Oh, yeah, well, quick. This is part of the corner lot in 57, so this is
Right.
actually not even parallel to the street line.
Right.
And this is what our proposal is. This is the survey of property on the corner, and I've got a course and distance list of all those dimensions as required by the statute.
Just go back 1 second. So if you look to the lot that's to the left, that's 57
This is
Greenwood.
57.
That is like, what, .75 acres?
It is .74.
Yeah, 7475. So if you split it in half, you could
Two
technically get
things.
2 lots. Would be
You
without.
can't.
I know.
Two things.
Go ahead.
This is the transcribed line, which is not even close to what it is on the 1960 map. The frontage down here is 51 feet. You need 50 feet for one lot, and you can't make a rear lot in this zone. So that precludes breaking this up. This, the corner lot, is, not enough to split into two.
Yep.
Here's your town plan of development.
Yep.
There's a discussion here about it.
Fix it up.
And then the specific recommendation is over here. Seek to reduce the number of properties, residential properties split into multiple districts. Review and amend where appropriate to reduce the number of properties split into multiple zoning districts. And then if you go back over here, somewhere in here it mentions not doing it for the, not for the purpose of creating another subdivision.
Okay.
So here's my final comments. 1960, that's when it was precisely mapped by a surveyor and signed off by the commission as part of a subdivision approval. The current version references the 100-foot measurement, but it doesn't measure where you measure, doesn't say where you measure the 100 feet from. The overlay shows the line as a continuation of the northerly boundary of the DCR zone, which creates a conflict. We haven't found any place in any of the records where there was an intention on the part of the commission to do this. Consistent with the town plan of development, and I just got a little specific down here at the end. The proposed revision will not result in the creation of additional lots under the current zoning scheme. And these, I already discussed these two reasons.
They could probably put a garage back there and make an ADU or something like that. Yeah.
The other thing, Steve, is, I'll just mention one other thing. The river's here.
Yeah.
The floodway runs through part of this lot. I mean, it's setting the zoning requirements aside, it would be very difficult to develop that as two single-family properties.
So why are you going through the pain and suffering of doing this?
I'm sorry?
Why are you going through the pain and suffering of doing this?
Because I like you guys, and I'm trying to do what the town plan of development.
It's not hurting anybody.
But
You're not
there is-
subdividing, why are you wasting your
what
time and
brought this
money?
to a head is, this is an addition which was built, and if you go back to the 1960 depiction of that zone boundary, it's perfectly compliant.
Great.
If you look at the way the digital map and the discrepancy between the two digital maps, basically, this is the line, and it cuts through the house. So,
Are they knocking down the house and rebuilding it?
no, they just put an addition on the back.
Okay,
But, you know, the correct setback line is right here.
I got it.
So it happens to be 10 feet, and it's 10 feet.
But the addition's already there, right?
Sorry?
The addition's already there?
Yeah,
So-
it was, well, I think what happened was the
We got it.
surveyor missed it, but in doing my research, this is what I came up with. Talked to the staff, and
You're
here
very
we are.
thorough. You're back to 1925. I don't
But
think
this is-
anybody in this room is here in 1925.
This is one of those things where you try to catch them all, but if there's no reason to look at a particular lot, you know, I mean, this you could hardly see when you look at the colors and all that.
Okay,
So that's it.
you're good, right? Any questions for this?
Sorry I took so long.
It's all right. I was late anyway, so it's my fault. Any questions on this one? Pretty straightforward. Good? Okay, anything else? And the bottom line, is the staff recommends us that we fix
Yeah,
this. We did-
we've reviewed the application with Bob, he met with us even before he submitted it, and we agreed that it would be appropriate, consistent with the town plan, and makes sense.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to close.
Well-
Do any of the general public want to speak to this application? We're moving a line 10 feet.
I think they're all here for one of the next ones.
That's why I'm trying to hustle you along.
I'm done, so
Good, thank you. All right, motion to
if you have any
close?
questions.
Adam makes a motion, Amy makes a second, all in favor? Thanks, buddy.
Thank you,
Are
everyone.
we're not delivering on this, are we, at all?
No, next week.
Okay. Thank you.
I gotta turn this off.
And we're going to keep the agenda the way it is, you want to reorder it? Oh, you
Yeah.
want to ask if that one guy's here?
I don't think he is, but
What I was thinking, Fred, we just bang out this, the guy with the extension for 1 or 2 years for his pool?
No, I don't believe the 12 McLaren Road is here this evening.
So you're going to present for him?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay. All right, next item on the agenda, coastal site plan review number 384, flood stem prevention application number 391A, land filling and regrading application number 581, site plan. It's also known as PL 24-169, Town of Darien, Pear Tree Point at 139 Pear Tree Road. Proposal to reconstruct, fill, regrade, and reduce the area of the existing parking lot, convert part of the parking lot to sand beach area, install drainage with new catch basins and storm sewer piping to assist in the mitigating of ponding in the parking lot, dredge and reconstruct the boat ramp, install new landscaping, construct new paver plaza, picnic area, and perform related site development activities within regulated areas. The 7.9 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the west side of Pear Tree Point Road, approximately 700 feet south of its intersection with Crane Road, and is shown on Assessor's Map 60 as lots 34, 43, 44, 45 located in the R1 zone. Gentlemen, what do we have? Very nice.
This is a coastal resiliency project being put forth by the town, which consists of expansion of the beach area at Pear Tree Point Beach, reconstruction of the existing boat launch in the same location to address ongoing access issues, ADA improvements around the existing building and pathways, construction of vegetated buffer areas around the parking lot and associated landscape improvements, reconstruction of the existing parking lot at a higher elevation to improve vehicular circulation and drainage, add street fencing screening on the street side of the park to help prevent sand from going onto the roadway, and provide screening of the parking lot, construction of a new paver plaza picnic area, living shoreline wetland restoration, dredging of the harbor channel, construction of a new screen dumpster enclosure, and replacement of the existing stormwater system. The property is entirely located within the flood hazard area, the VE15 and AE14 flood zones. We note that Connecticut Deep issued a certificate of permission for the project on October 20th of 2022. The application was referred out to Ty and Bond, Joe Canis of Ty and Bond. He submitted comments for the record dated January 2nd, and most recently today, January 21st, noting that all outstanding comments have been addressed by the applicant's representative, Weston and Sampson. You'll note that we did receive some public comment from the Bolitins, which is the property directly to the east of the beach at 150 Pear Tree Point Road. Those comments have been uploaded to the application. And tonight, we have Dan Biggs of Weston and Sampson, along with Jennifer Fava, the Director of Parks and Recreation, to present the application to the commission.
Fantastic, thanks, Fred. To me, it's a nice resiliency project, and Jennifer, I've never met you, so it's the first time. Welcome, everybody. You guys, do you want to go first, Jennifer? Want to state your name for the record?
Sure. So for the record, Jennifer Fava, Director of Parks and Recreation. I'm just going to give a really quick, brief introduction, which most of it was already said, and hopefully by that time the video will connect. So this is Pear Tree Point Beach Improvement Project, has been in the works for some time. It started as a recommendation from the 2018 Parks Master Plan and has clearly morphed over the years. I'm sure many of you have heard that. All those changes have been based on public feedback that we've received. So just the 5 main components, again, are reconstruction of the parking lot, reconstruction of the boat ramp, boat launch, dredging of the channel, restoration of the tidal wetland, and construction of the vegetated buffer areas. So the goals of this project are really to improve our coastal resiliency, reduce flooding, improve accessibility, landscaping, and boating access. So a couple things that we just want to be clear about is, one, there is no building that is part of this project. The building that's there, and that will remain as is. Additionally, I just want to manage expectations in that this project will not totally eliminate flooding. It will certainly reduce the number of times that happens. I just don't want people thinking that it will, we're going to do this work and it will never flood. So,
You're on the beach.
Exactly.
It's supposed to flood.
So with that, Dan Biggs, I don't have too much more, Dan Biggs and Joe Perugini of Weston and Sampson, they'll take you through this presentation if we ever get it connected, and then we'll be here to answer any of your questions.
Fantastic.
So,
When did you start as Director of Parks and Rec? 6 months
I
ago?
started about 8 months ago. I can't even remember anymore.
Good for you.
It's a blur.
Fred, does he want to go hard copies with an easel and these plans?
Sorry?
Does he want to go hard copy with these plans and an easel?
Do you have easels?
I don't have easel, no.
Where's Bob Mazzy? He's still here? He's our tech guy.
Here we go. See if you got it, Dan.
That's something.
Hold on.
Fred hit a button. Then Fred, we're not going to have to hook up this one?
That is not going to work.
Okay. If anybody wants to see the TV, you're more than welcome to come this way, because it's got to serve two purposes. Why don't you make it more flat, as long as Amy and I can see it, we're good.
Push it back a little, couple feet. Push this on.
It's cutting out.
What is this thing? It's a cartoon?
That has,
Yes.
okay.
One more time with gusto.
I like a cartoon. Jennifer, has this project been funded yet, or are you still waiting for that piece?
No,
Because you're
this-
talking about setting expectations, it's not
Yes,
happening for this summer.
this will be going through the capital budget process. So we're trying to get this going, the idea being that once we get approvals, we would put it out to bid, so by the time we get to the end of the funding process, we have a firm budget number.
Got it.
And hopefully we'd be able to start in the fall, right after Labor Day.
Okay, so it's going in for this budget season?
For this budget.
Do like April or something like that?
Well, it's already been submitted, so it's starting in the process now.
Oh, okay.
Restarting.
Restarted?
I was gonna say, unplug and.
I'm gonna get you an HDMI cord for Christmas.
Did you see this afternoon, he uploaded Candace's last review?
Yeah.
He gave it the all, okay, just an
Yeah.
FYI.
Was there one prior to that?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't see the one prior either.
They uploaded this afternoon too. This was on January 2nd, asking for more info.
Got it.
But they provided it, so it's good to go. From Candace's point of view. But I was even here.
So we can technically close this because there's nothing
Yeah.
outstanding. At this point.
At this point, yeah. Nothing like waiting on Candace for some more information.
Great. Do you want to use this and an easel? This has got everything.
We might
on it. I went through this whole sheet.
Yeah.
I know exactly what's going on.
That's kind of last resort. You
These
want to try with a different computer?
Oh, okay.
Can we roll up the plan?
Say again?
I can roll up the plan. when we
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
If we, is there an easel in another room we can roll out the plan?
Yeah, let's grab a,
Go the old fashioned way?
grab a board.
There you go.
Trying to Bluetooth it to the.
Oh, you are.
Just see what model this is.
What did you do different that Maslin did? I just didn't use unplug this?
On your laptop, have you set the display settings to
Yep.
use the other screen? Because sometimes that does it on the Windows.
Yeah, I am.
That's a right click, right? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Right click, display settings.
See, he's got teenagers, he knows.
You got
Are they even teenagers?
No, it's 8 and 5. I got 2 engineering degrees. That's how I know how to fix a computer.
I thought I saw your son smoking in the parking lot.
I sure hope not.
I could swear I saw him smoking in the parking lot.
Kid's 8 years old. It's an early habit to pick up.
When do you think I started? I quit by 10.
Was it Drew Barrymore that was like a big child drug addict? In like rehab by the time she was like 11 or 12.
That's what money does to you, man.
Yeah, tell me about it.
That's what money does.
Uh-oh, I think we got something. Detecting.
Oh.
So this guy's trying to connect wireless, and this guy's trying to connect.
They're gonna
Yeah.
connect to each other's
Exactly.
computers and start keeping
I got yours. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, he's changing the thing.
Yeah.
Take my phone off the TV.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Don't touch. All right, don't touch anything. Jeremy, we got it.
We got it with you. You're sitting here scratching your chin.
What a good good manager does. Somebody else fixes it, and you swoop in and take all the credit. You lay them off, and then you pay yourself a bonus.
Here we go.
Stories all the time itself.
Sorry for the delay.
No problem.
Well,
Jeff,
thank you
want
for
to give
having
your speech
me.
again?
I'm Dan Biggs of Weston Sampson. Happy to be here to present to you Pear Tree Beach Park, project. And without further ado, Joe Perugini's here with me from my team, and also Jen, as you just met from Parks. A little overview of the project. Chen gave you a big high-level introduction on what we were doing. I'll go through a little bit of history really quickly of the dates. It's been going on for a while, but the big picture items we're going to include in this project are to reconstruct a parking lot, to improve vehicular circulation and drainage, reconstruct the boat launch and dredge the channel, to address ongoing access issues, construct a vegetated buffer areas around the parking lot, including street fencing, landscaping, screen improvements, restoring the tidal wetland living shoreline, and also to construct a paver plaza space adjacent to the current dumpster enclosure. As I mentioned, location-wise, pretty high level, parking lot obviously in the middle, boat ramp as it is today, wetland restoration, which is just off of the west beach, picnic area and dumpster here in the lower left-hand corner, and then channel dredging out towards the boat club. We've been working on this project since 2018. In 2018, the master plan was completed. There was a building committee that was formed. That project did include two major components. One is a site we're talking about today, include a bathhouse or building component that was since dropped. During that time, that's all pre-COVID. During COVID, there was a number of meetings through COVID, but that building component was dropped and progress of the site was moved forward to get to the point of submitting to DEEP for a certificate of permission, which all the items you see here have been permitted by DEEP in 2022.
Yeah, 2020.
There was various meetings informed the Coastal Commission, Parks and Rec Commission, Select Board at some point. So that has been ongoing since 2022. Big picture design has been going on since 2023-24, and then here we are in 2025 with plan zoning. From here on will be upon approvals, would be summer through spring of next year for bidding and construction, and about a 9-month construction period expected for this project. So I'll talk about that here at the end of the conclusion of this presentation.
Dan, how long does the DEEP permit last?
DEEP is a 5-year permit, so till 2027.
So is it 5 years from the start date or 5 years from the finish date?
5 years from the issuance date, which is 2022. So
You start the project till you complete the project, because that would be a 9
No,
months.
so the permit is issued in 2022 and is a 5-year duration. And if you get to say year 2026 with no progress or in the middle of progress, you apply for extension.
Got it.
Up to 2-year extensions.
So it's the finish date.
Yep.
So it's,
So you have to be done by 2027, but we might have to have an extension, so we'll see. Big picture of the site components. So it's about 240,000 square foot project. As you can see in the picture here, there's a reduction overall impervious area, about 7,000 square feet, 8,000 square feet. The project components are not changing. So the park as it is today is the same program that's being used to design the site. Statistics on the parking, currently there's 225 parking stalls, 7 which are handicap, with a 9x18 size. And we're actually reducing number of stalls to 203 by maximizing and making the site more efficient. And actually we're reducing some of the pavement area that is on the beach, West Beach side by about 5 feet, and then 18 feet on the south side as well. So we're kind of pinching in to remove impervious area within the overall site. DEEP, as they care about where the coastal jurisdiction limit is, there is improvements being in that area. There's going to be some fill, and I'll talk about that level of change of grades within the parking lot within the coastal jurisdiction line. But overall, there's about 3,000 cubic yards of fill being brought in, and 400 of that, which is sand. So the rest is the grade you'll see being brought up in select areas of the parking lot. So parking lot, as you can see, has a very similar characteristics to what you see today. Net decrease in the overall impervious area. The low areas I'll talk about being raised are really to reduce the flooding, localized flooding within part of the parking lot, and also to add a drainage system, because there really is not much more than a couple catch basins currently within this parking area.
that's current conditions, right?
This is proposed conditions, but looks very much like the current conditions.
That doesn't match the plans. Because you have parallel you're parking along the beachfront. Right now.
Sorry, this is proposed condition right here.
Right, so
That's-
the other one in color is not.
Correct. So as you know, there is flooding within this park area. We have severe storm events with storms here in 2022 and 23, basically coming up to Pear Tree Beach Road. As it looks like the storm is part of the bay. And the results of that are severe erosion, as you see in the right-hand picture, reducing of that beach area, washing out. So those storms are going to keep on happening. This project will not prevent those, or just reduce the impacts of those storm events. But it's more of the tidal events that occur with what's currently nuisance flooding within the parking area. Within the parking area, there's one spot I'll show you on the plan as to where there's a low catch basin. If you've been there on, say, a sunny day like this, where the tide comes in and just happens to be that they'll flood and bubble out of that catch basin and floods part of the parking lot. Or as in the picture on the left-hand side, you see that the tide actually comes over that beach area and comes into the parking area. So currently, with the current tide conditions right now, you'll see that there's about, at that location, 128 flood events, tide events that occur up to the elevation of that catch basin. As we progress with sea level rise, we're going to see that those occurrences are going to happen way more frequently with the current elevation of that catch basin, about 4.2.
So you say there's approximately 128 events in a year?
In a calendar year of tide events that get to the elevation of the current catch basin. So as that event's going to occur, flooding will happen more frequently as the rise of the tide. As you can see in the picture on the right-hand side, that's the edge of the parking lot where the yellow line is. As the sand's been brought up over that current curb and filled into the parking lot. So the current drainage is as follows, where basically it's a flat area with a low spot where you see the rim of 4.2 here. That's where most of the flooding is occurring and coming out. When the floods do back into this drain system, it does get to that low point and then creates a ponding. That condition is basically the lowest spot of the entire parking lot. And the rest, as the left-hand side, is about 7.6 for perspective, which is pretty high relative to that catch basin. The drain elevation on the right-hand side, I'll point out, is a negative 4.2. So any tide that comes up from negative 2.2 up to 4.2 is going to back water up into the current parking lot. The driveway is about 6.0. So as you can see, it rises 4.2, and it could occur up to 6.0 from a flood event. And then basically drain into the current road. I'll point out also that there's a catch basin right at the edge of the guard shack, about 5.9. So that is another low spot that catches any water happening within the parking lot. So current conditions, when there is a storm event, you can see the rim in the middle is about 4.2. If there is a storm, this is how it's going to flood. It's going to come to that current catch basin, it's going to spread out, and currently grow within the parking area as the tides rise. This is current baseline conditions of 2020. You can see here, the coastal jurisdiction limit is about 5.5, which is in this general vicinity as such. So that obviously is water showing it's getting to about 5.5 elevation of flooding. If we add 12 inches of sea level rise, you can see here that obviously it's going well beyond the last graphic, of spreading out into the overall parking lot and eventually trickling into the existing roadway, which is about 6.0 or so. So the current conditions with 12 inches sea level rise is that the entire parking lot, besides basically the left-hand side of the parking area, would not be flooded with current conditions. Our proposed conditions are to show that we would raise that catch basin, where you saw the 4.2, you raise about 6.2 or so. And that elevation will basically be raising just that low depressed area, which is in around that corner catch basin. And also bringing that curb line back. So we're going to be removing part of the parking lot. We're pulling back into the current parking area and reducing that in previous area and then raising that current catch basin.
So we're raising the catch basin 2 feet.
Approximately, yes.
So you go from 4.2 to 6.2.
Yeah, and it's localized just around the catch basin. So in this graphic here, if the storm event were to occur well beyond the 6.2 elevation, you can see that part of the parking lot would flood like it does today. But about 2 feet of elevation rise just within that concentrated area around the current catch basin.
So the parking lot's going to slope towards the water?
Nope. So the proposed condition of the drainage, see here, is that there is a number of catch basins. So currently there's only 2 catch basins, here and here, that catch water. There'll be smaller areas that will be captured within these small pods, you want to say, for catching the stormwater. So not only are we relying on everything to flow to one catch basin at the low spot, we have a number of smaller ones across the whole parking area. In addition to at the catch basin, the tree islands here and here. So having multiple, we're raising generally in this vicinity here of the low area of the parking lot, by adding smaller catchment areas. That also allows us to treat that stormwater when it does land on the parking lot. So all the catch basins here will have a deep sump. One that does is that when there is sand in the parking area and it catches, we can capture at the bottom of the catch basin, and then that would be sucked out with a vacuum truck on a regular period with maintenance.
So see where your arrows point in the middle? And road to a parking, no, a little bit lower to the left, right? Keep going higher, right there, bingo.
Yep.
Is that a low spot?
That's a high spot. Yep,
Okay.
so these arrows are pointing out into the low area depressed areas within the parking area. So instead of having everything flow to this concentrated spot, a sheet flow, we're having basically high points here that they would shed to these smaller catchment areas within each of the catch basins.
So what's the change in elevation at that high spot?
At here,
Or
there's
at the high spot?
There's very minimal change in grades because this is the high spot. It's about, I think, 7.2 or so currently. And this is a 7.0 contour, for example. And down here, this is where the 4.2 was. 4.2 is actually right there. That's going to, at the curb edge, about 7.2. But the catch basin is actually brought into the middle of the drive aisle to catch the stormwater within the parking area here.
So the spot that's 7.2, you're not changing that at all? That's already a high spot today?
This spot here is not changing, correct?
What about the spot that you just pointed to a minute ago?
This spot is, because that is
No,
currently
the
where
other one. The one in the middle. Where you said
right
the
here, this being
No,
raised.
at the beginning when I first asked you. Nope,
High
left.
point.
Bingo.
Right there,
here?
higher.
The one in the middle of the lot.
The one where all the arrows are
There.
pointing, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that today?
Gradual, I don't have the elevation in front of me, but it's not changing by too much, a couple inches.
Okay, so it's not, you're not raising the high point any higher,
The
you're
highest
raising,
point is here, that's not changing.
okay, and that's 7, but I think you said the other one was 7.2.
Yeah, this is a 7 contour, this is like 7.2. It's high to low, so it's capturing the water going down the arrow to the point, the low spot. There's a high point right here. That sheet flows to this catch basin, high point here to this basin, high point here to this basin. So all these catch basins have smaller pod areas of capturing stormwater.
What I'm trying to get at is the high point that exists today, you're not making that any higher.
We're not.
Other than maybe
Nope.
an inch, which is the thickness of asphalt.
Correct.
Do you have
Yep.
a sense from the 128 events that happen now, what would that number you anticipate to go down based on all this stuff?
The frequency numbers, I don't have the actual calculation in front of me to tell you what it would reduce to, but would be reduced. And what's even more important is that currently when this whole area floods and it's coming out to this driveway, that we wouldn't have those severe storm events coming over this curb and plowing across to the road. We now are capturing within the parking area any stormwater that happens, that flows over the edge into the parking area in these catch basins. In addition to the sumps I mentioned, we're adding an inline check valve. Basically what that does is I mentioned the backwater effect of tidal conditions. So when the tide rises and the pipe is at negative 2.2, it's going to back water into the whole drainage system. The check valve you see here is basically a flap. And what it does, it prevents when the tides come in and put pressure on that pipe, the flap goes down and stops that water from continuing up into the drainage system.
Yep.
So if at a time there was a tide and a rain event, right, we still have that volume to capture water in the storm system and puts pressure against that valve. And then when the tide goes out, the valve opens and water can flow. So we still can capture water, not have the backward effect of filling our whole void area to capture stormwater in the parking area.
So hold on, where does the water go? Does it go back out to sea, or
Yes.
does it go to the town sewer system?
So the current system is all the water from the parking area and Pear Tree Beach Road continue along here to catch basin, and they discharge out at this point into the current tide waters.
So at the back, that's all
Yeah.
seagrass over there.
Yeah, so it'll still connect in at the entrance of the beach, as in here, and continue out into the sound.
So the catch basin that's over by the existing bathhouse, all that water's gonna flow over to the boat ramp?
So the proposed conditions, there's a catch basin here, 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 and here. Those connect here down, and they will tie into existing,
Right?
and then that will head out into the sound.
So the answer is yes.
Correct. Everything that's in light blue is not changing. Anything dark blue is part of the project.
Okay. Now, in one with the spot elevations, do we have one of those plants inside this packet? The
Green plan?
7.2s and the 7.1s? that you're
Spot
talking-
elevations, you know, where you just.
Yep,
update
in the green plan.
Look at C-103.
That's what I'm trying to read.
I think it's called gradient drainage plan. 103.
7.5. This
Bingo, that's what I'm talking about. Thanks,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yep. Yep. And the current catch basins do not have that valve. So essentially now, when it's a high tide and a storm event, they're totally useless because they're filled with high tide water.
Yeah, there's no deep sumps or a check valve at all in the whole system. So the check valve would go on this downstream side of the current system to help the whole
Right.
system.
Yep.
And then every catch basin would have deep sump, which allows that extra capturing of sediment.
But right now, it's
Does not
none.
exist.
So
Right.
so when it's high tide and raining,
Yep.
they're not there, essentially.
No, it's all underwater.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. We're also adding an oil water separator for its anti-siphon snout. Basically what it does is when you have oils and sediments, it's going to drop out, so we're not polluting into the bay. So we can capture that into the catch basin, basically at the last one. So that's another measure to improve water quality within the stormwater system that will have to be maintained.
Okay, I got your plans here with all your numbers that you're reading to me.
Speaking of 103, I'm looking, I'm cheating with my partner here, but there are a bunch of shaded dots all over my map. I don't know why others don't seem to have it, but I don't know what they are. Have you seen this map?
Where the shaded dots you're talking about?
Within the parking lot, George?
Yeah, and in the water and all over the place. It's like it's
That looks like a PDF interpretation of the plan. It's
Really?
not.
A PDF interpretation.
I don't know. It looks like an online PDF. I don't.
Okay.
How it's being read.
All right. Blame the computer. Okay. What the heck?
All right, so on C101, that's where you see the low points. Where I see the 4.2
Yeah, that's existing.
right there. Grades at 4.2.
Yeah, that's existing. Those are the low points.
So at the end of the day, we're only trying to raise part of the parking lot.
Yep.
Right in the middle.
Right.
Right there, yeah.
Yep.
And
this-
nothing along here.
This, but we're moving this back a little bit, so
Right.
they'll add a little bit of curving.
Because he doesn't have spot elevations over here, but he's got them on the other one. Okay, you're doing good, Dan. Keep going, bud.
All right. So other components of the project include improving the boat launch. As you may have heard from some residents, it's currently not steep enough. It's about 9%. So recommended ramp slopes are between 12 and 15%. And this project would reconstruct the ramps in the proper slope of 13.5%. To allow basically boats to be pushed into water effectively, floated, and then the trailer can haul out. Also include landscaping. Native landscape plants and trees are proposed within the plan by Burnham, Summer Street, London Plain, White Oak. Those plants are around the perimeter and also on the edge of Pear Tree Beach Road, which will be improved. That also is a measure that would allow for any sand sediment transport to be captured there and any water to be absorbed as well
Does
in
this
some
include
condition.
taking trees down?
There is no trees being removed as a part of this project. So currently there's trees mostly on the south beach. Those are all being retained. We're adding trees along the west side.
Say that again. You said that some of the other spots are going to get the sand. That's going to go where? The islands that don't have?
No, if there's any sand that we're happening to blow across the parking lot, that they would be captured by the plants.
Okay,
It would
plants.
help.
Okay.
Plants, yep.
Did you bring a landscape architect today to go over that, or is Dan doing that? You're doing
That's
everything?
me. You're
You got
welcome.
it, brother.
We mentioned the picnic plaza area. This is basically where the high point area is, having a seating area. benches and tree for shade, picnic tables and bench area. And then finally, I mentioned the wetland restoration. There's a tidal wetland that's currently just to the west of the current bathhouse. That's been degraded over time. We're going to restore that, adding more native plants into that tidal wetland system. That would happen as part of the project. And finally, dredging within the project. So there was previously approved dredge plans by DEEP and the Army Corps of Engineers as a project, not only to improve the boat ramp, but to improve access out into the Goodwives River. Would be dredging within the yellow area around the perimeter of the boat club. So in conjunction with their moving of their docks, we would have that dredged. The entire area is basically dredging to previously approved depths. So we are held to that limit to where they can dredge and not dredge. That's been approved by DEEP and the Army Corps. And that material will be dredged, excavated, and hauled off by barge down to approved facility as appropriate by Army Corps of Engineers.
That's got nothing to do with our jurisdiction, though, the dredging.
Right, good. So the COP, I mentioned basically everything I went through today, which is one thing you may not care about, but they actually are going to permit the Darien Boat Club because it was not permitted under their peer review many years ago. We're going to reduce the parking area, install additional beach area, reconstruct the boat ramp, and then dredge the channel and the tidal wetland. And that's valid for 5 years, starting in 2022. So it expires in 2027, and if we need extension, we'd have to apply for that probably in 2026.
Okay. Couple of simple items. How much material are you bringing in to raise this section that you're raising?
Yeah, so I think I had it here. That's about 3,000 cubic yards.
And that's going to be just dirt or compacted fill or
It's
sand?
a combination of both. So only 400 yards of sand. The rest is mixture of fill. So it could be stones, it could be mixture of stone material.
Okay.
Does that have to be treated before it's brought in?
It's going to be clean fill.
No,
clean fill?
we would only accept clean fill. There's nothing to have to be treated.
Okay. And then how many truckloads is that about?
That's probably about 180 to 200 over the course of 9 months.
You said 30,000, right? Not
I
3,000?
said 3,000.
3,000.
3,000. And so it's 100 and how many, what do we usually say are in the truck?
It's about
25.
20 plus or minus. So Dan said 150 to 200 in that range, depending how big the truck is and how full it is at the time.
There's 20 per truck, right?
Plus or minus, yes.
16.
16 to 20, depending on what size truck you use.
Okay.
So, as Dan said, 150 to 200 trucks over a multi-month period.
Yeah.
Okay. And how many do you do a day? How many trucks you bring in a day?
It kind of depends on what phase of the project they are, where they may be working in the parking lot. That could be 15 in a day. They could not have any for a period of time because they're only working on the beach sand area.
Right. And then with regard, so you're demolishing the existing asphalt and ripping that out, right?
Correct, yep.
The plan that I saw said you're taking out every single inch of asphalt from the whole thing?
Plan is to resurface the whole parking lot, yes.
Okay. So how many truckloads of stuff are we taking out of the,
I don't have that number offhand, but I can get that for you.
can you get that? Sure. And then we're just gonna figure out how many, because that's phase one is demolition, right?
Yeah, so a phase in the project where phase one might actually be the dredging. We have to see about timing. So we have restrictions on when we can and can't work in the water. Part of the COP permit, which is in February through May and then July through August.
Right.
So depending on how that works out with timing of the project for funding and allowing the contract to get in, I don't think they'll have access until after Labor Day, probably, because we'll have to have the boat club pulled in their docks.
Boat club closes October 2nd, right?
November 5th usually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm always the last guy boat out.
So pending timing of that, we would have to see on when dredging happens or not. Might be the boat launch first, but obviously get the boats out part of the boat club, so.
But isn't that two different contractors? One's the dredging, which would have jurisdiction, and the other guy's.
Probably not. We're gonna have one general contractor that would have them in charge of the entire project.
Right.
So the dredging may be one component that's done kind of off period, but out of the restricted areas or time periods. So basically would have between August and February to do the dredging work. Or no, November to November to February.
Have you spoken to the boat club yet, if they can get their boats out earlier? I mean, mine doesn't come out until.
We've talked to the boat club, but depending on having dates firm yet, we haven't had a hard discussion about what that date is. I think also the park uses the park area for other parking use as well as other events in the park. So I'm saying Labor Day is probably the earliest, but it might be actually middle of September, and then
So you're allowed to dredge what time of year again? I'm sorry?
we're allowed to dredge between August 30th and February 1st.
Okay.
Or 2 weeks in May.
Or, yeah, or month of June.
Yeah.
Which by then it's
Yeah, you
kind of
can't
too
do
late
it.
in the
Yeah.
season, so. Yeah.
Boats are already in June.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's, I mean, I know it's outside of our jurisdiction, but I'm just trying to get the timeline for everybody that really is concerned. So how long is it gonna take you to dredge that thing?
Dredging, I don't have exact dates, but I would expect month and a half, 2 months.
So if you started on Thanksgiving, you could be done by February 1st.
Yeah.
There's a time limit there, right?
Sure, yep. It would have to get done, or I'd have to wait for the season to kind of end.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if the boats come out November 1st, you can't get in there until November 2nd, right? So you have November, December, January. You have 3 months to do a month and a half job. Okay? And then the parking lot, to demo the parking lot, that's another 3 months or a month? How long?
So the overall 9-month duration will include all the tasks you've seen so far. So it might be concurrent to dredging would be the
Right,
parking lot as well.
I get that, yeah.
Yeah. The parking lot, that work can probably be done in probably about 2.5, 3 months.
To take out the old parking lot?
Take out and then lay the base, get the structures in, rebuild the boat ramp. But overall, it's going to be phased over several months, so 9 months total is the
It's
thought.
tight, 9 months goes quick.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
that, I mean,
It'll be really
it's not your
fast.
first time at the rodeo, right?
No.
You've done this a million times.
It's fast.
Yeah, okay. So you're taking out a bunch of trucks, we don't know how many that is, and then you're bringing in the trucks. So you're taking out first, then you're gonna put in all the piping systems and everything underground.
It might be more concurrent, so I wouldn't expect them to go strip the whole parking lot at once. They may actually come in and start digging in the structures, getting those set, right? And then removing the asphalt edge and the curb line, get that built, and then stripping the parking lot, because that's stable when it's paved and there's stone. So we want to keep it stable. Definitely if we have a storm event, you want it as stable as possible, because that's going to come in and then go back out. We don't want to have any material floating away,
That makes
per
sense.
se. So may actually dig in the structures, get the boat ramp, and then build up the base, and then come back in and rip out what we don't need to have, and then obviously paving is when the plant's open, so that's gonna be later in the season.
Right.
But I would think they'd probably keep pavement down as long as possible, because that's the best surface to be working on during the winter.
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay,
Yeah.
so you're gonna leave the paving in while you're digging it, you're gonna
Likely, yeah.
excavate deep
Yeah.
for the piping systems.
I always said they have a stabilized base, stabilized construction entrance, and that's just a lot more work where a
Right.
storm could come in and,
And when
terrorize.
do the asphalt plants usually open, April 1st,
Approximately.
something like that?
Temperature.
Yeah. Do us a favor, go back to the color planting plan.
Yeah. That's what I want to see.
Okay, yeah, something like that, that's good. Because I looked at your plan, just if you can help out everybody in question on page, what is it? I think it's C4, right? That tells me that in the middle is gonna be sour oaks in the islands, and then at the outside is gonna be white birches or something. Yeah, white oaks along the shoreline.
Correct.
That's someplace you have when it says that their plugs are installed 18 inches apart, that's basically seagrass, right?
Yes, that's the wetland.
Okay,
Yes.
so talk to us about that. Then you have some islands that are stone mulch within the curb islands,
Yep.
which is all the way to the left.
Yeah.
There's nothing going in two of those,
Correct.
and there's trees going in some of them.
Yeah, so the two on the ends are catch basins, so that's where capture water into those islands.
Yep.
And the middle one does have tree, smaller ornamental trees, as well as the line of islands here get trees as well.
And that tree is AO, which is a sourwood tree. Okay. Has ARB seen this yet?
No.
Okay.
The trees on the left,
here.
Are those existing or you're new?
Existing, we're gonna supplement with more London plane trees. I believe there's only 3 there.
So they stay, the ones that are
Current
there
stay.
stay?
Yes, we're not removing any trees
Got
for
it.
the project.
Okay, and you can, see under those and see the coast and
Yep.
in the distance, and you anticipate the ones that are gonna go along the west beach to be, once they grow, to be the same, so they're not gonna be low branching and obstruct views?
We call it clear trunk, 6-foot
Yeah.
clear trunk.
Got it,
Yep.
okay, okay,
Also, so people can walk in and around them.
yeah, and can you tell us a little bit about what's gonna be on the street? What you anticipate? to
On the
be?
street here,
First, finish with that on the water. No, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Finish with the ones on the water, because it's a little bit of town feedback, and I do it myself. A lot of people park on that shoreline,
Yes.
which is to the left, and I don't know if
West,
that's
yep.
used, and sit in their car,
sure.
listen to the radio, and stare at Long Island.
So
Because
currently
you
there's,
can't, you can do that here, you can't do it at Weed Beach because of the buffer and the seagrass and the
Yes.
berm,
so several years ago, there were dunes suggested as part of this project.
right?
Those have since been removed due to public comments, due to visibility desires from the parking lot out into the sound. So the trees that do line both sides of the beach would be clear trunks, so limbed up, so you can walk and view under them, whether you're sitting in your car or walking. And that would be on both sides of the beach here.
Okay. Then what about these islands that are vegetative buffer areas installed with plugs 18 inches on center?
The plugs are here, they're in a wetland, so they're
No,
low.
in the 2 buffers that are on the same parts where I'm gonna park my car and stare at the water.
The 2 here, they're
No.
low, they're shrubs.
No, underneath the trees.
So here, there's trees, there's
No,
small islands.
all the way to the left, right there.
Yeah.
Under those, you got 6 trees going in there?
There's current trees that are staying. There's 3.
There's 2 vegetative buffers
Yep.
on either sides of those trees. One
Yes.
there and
They're-
one above it.
They're a low shrub area below
Okay.
the trees. Yes.
So that's not seagrass?
That's not seagrass.
Okay. Because that's what I want you to do is explain the planning plan that's on here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The plan, I don't have to look at the plan again to see
You
what's
got it,
actually.
it's right here. Because you're putting in 4 plus 7 plus 3 plus 4 plus 8, that's, to me, that's, I don't know, 15 trees. We're a big tree town lately. You're putting in 4 London plane trees, 7 sour woods, 3 American sycamores, 4 white oaks, 4 scarlet oaks, 6 red ruby spice sweet nuts, 3 arrowwood vernum.
Sure.
Just show us where those are.
So along this edge
No,
here.
you gotta go back to the TV screen.
So along the edge here, we have quercus, these are the oaks, and they're alternating across around here as well.
Alternate colors.
Alternating in between of them are the platinus, so we have oak, London plane, oakland plane, etc. going down. You don't really typically keep them in line like soldiers. We want diverse. We have multiple species along this edge for the reason for diversity.
Hold on there for a second. ARB has this new idea, you're not allowed 2 trees of the same species next to each other?
Right, the ARB, generally speaking, especially where they look at trees, they've talked about the potential for, that disease can get to anything. So if you did a row of whatever, and disease would wipe out the whole thing. So what Dan's saying is they're alternating to try to minimize that from happening.
I'm just trying to cut it off the pass that ARB doesn't change some of these trees. Then these are all hardy, seaborne trees.
We do not believe this needs to go to ARB.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
If you can see, it's.
Oh, you already asked me that.
Right, the landscaping such, it's a handful of trees going in.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
And again, this is a coastal area, so it's a whole different dynamic than, say, a street tree in downtown.
Right. Okay. Keep going. You're doing great.
So beneath the trees, there are smaller green areas, would be a small massing of shrubs. That is where the American beach grass and spike grass would go.
Okay.
So low vegetation, height is probably about 12, 18 inches tall. You can walk in around it if you want to. Would not obstruct any views from the parking lot as well. In the island, we have here the number of ornamental trees. Those are white oaks,
Well, those are Sarah Oaks.
Sorry, Scarlet Oaks.
They're
Scarlet Oaks.
OAs?
Always sourwood.
Yeah.
Yes, they're smaller. They're into the tree pits here in the islands. And those will just have a stone base because they also would possibly get some snow push would be there. Also, stormwater would go into those as well.
Now, this says those are 2.5 to 3 inch caliber. That's the size of the trunk, right?
Yes, correct.
So, are they ever going to grow to 2 feet caliber in 25 years when I'm not here anymore?
Probably not, no.
Okay. And wreck the parking lot?
No.
Okay. Keep going.
We have perennials and shrubs along the, we actually have a number of trees as well along here to replant in those that have been died off over a time period. Those are scarlet oaks, they are London plane trees, and they alternate as well within that space.
And the shrubbery line that's along the street, do you envision it to be a continuation of the pathway to the right there, to the right of the entry? Is it like
Similar, yes,
similar,
yes.
like similar height, similar
Correct,
variation
yes.
of trees?
Yep.
Okay.
Same aesthetic that currently exists within that roadway.
And is there or is there not a fence proposed?
We do have a fence proposed to replace. I believe there was one there one time. It got damaged.
'Cause that's the emergency exit on the bottom, right?
Because I saw that in the materials, but I haven't heard you reference that yet.
Thanks. Let's talk about the fence. Because I want to make sure that the trees and the shrubbery along the road, Pear Tree Point Road, that's a buffer for visibility and,
Yep.
and so people that are walking down the street are not staring at a million cars. But you still can see the water.
So there is, as you see in the plan, the next dumpster enclosure. There is the emergency egress with a swing gate. And that's generally this down here. This graphic isn't completely updated from how it is.
Yeah, this one works. You guys can see it, we can't see anything.
I don't know why. And then along the property line, there's a fence, wooden fence, basically to have planting on either side.
And that runs from the left of the entry along Pear Tree Road
Correct.
all the way to,
Where the dumpsters
yeah.
enclosure is.
And how high is that fence?
4 feet tall.
And is it, do you see through it? Is it solid?
It's transparent, like a picket fence.
So, solid, empty, solid?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Are we painting it white, or are we leaving it black?
So it's not really a barrier to sand blowing?
Not really, no.
And it's not really a visual barrier?
Correct.
4 feet?
on here?
4 feet tall.
White picket fence.
Okay. And is this critical
be
to
on
your
this one.
plan to have that fence there?
It's not critical, just to create the aesthetic of that edge there. Also, users, so they don't actually want to drive into the park if the gates are closed. So there's another barrier there to have, protecting users from driving through in the event that the gates are closed.
That's called valve, use the emergency gate.
And so, all right, say that again. So we're doing a white picket fence the entire way from the boat ramp all the way to the trash dumpster.
From the entrance to the dumpsters.
The left side of the entrance,
Right, it's gonna
Here.
split, right?
not to the right.
Not to the right.
There's nothing to the right on the boat ramp side.
Yeah.
Okay, so it starts at the guardhouse
Yep,
and it goes all the way towards 150 Pear Tree Point Road.
correct. Yep.
Okay. Then the next thing is explain us about the dumpster and the patio that's next to it. Right now, there's probably a half a dozen or maybe 4 barbecues that are installed in the ground permanent. What are we doing with those things?
So those would come up, be removed, and then there was a paver plaza seating area right here.
Yep.
Be located with a shade around the perimeter, and there's handicap stalls adjacent to that.
Okay. What do we do with the barbecues? Throw them in the garbage? And the picnic
Or
tables?
relocate them, yes.
Are you going to use them again, or are you going to get
I
rid
don't
of
know,
them?
I haven't talked to Jen. Pam had different opinions, so I have to talk to Jen as to what she might want to do.
And the Adirondack chairs? Are they still there?
The one says we give the Adirondack chairs back to the owner.
Yeah, that's her.
You're the owner? So what are you gonna do with them? Put them in your house?
She probably will relocate them into the plaza space for use. They're removable, so we don't see them as a permanent feature of the project.
It says existing benches to be removed and turned over to the owner.
Yes.
Typical.
So that the contractor doesn't go and take them home.
Okay.
Yeah, they would hand over back to Parks, and they can locate them when they want them after the project's over.
So they'll get put away in a construction trailer and come back in the next
Yeah,
spring?
exactly.
Okay. Is that what you want to do?
Yes.
Okay, next. Talk to us about the dumpster, what's in there.
Sure.
How many times they have to get emptied, if Jennifer knows?
Yeah, so the dumpster, when this project was going on, started, there was concessions offerings at this beach house, bathhouse. Since then, the concession area has not been ongoing. I don't even think they've had one now for 2 years. But the dumpster was as a part of concessions that have that use. So I don't believe it's actually being used currently with the dumpster. I don't even think it's being maintained. So there's nothing in it as currently. So there is a possibility that that could not be necessary part of the project, but that's up for discussion as to if Parks would like to have that removed from the project.
Okay. Can I ask you a couple of questions? With regards to, so Uncle's Deli and whoever operated, they've been there for 2 years?
No, yes, correct. There's been no concession there, I think, as you said, 2 years or so.
Okay.
So we have not had a dumpster there in that period of time. At this point in time, I don't anticipate that we're going to be able to get somebody there, so I don't see that there's really a need to have a dumpster there.
Okay.
So that is something that could be removed. However, in the future, if something were to go back in there, I think we'd have to address it at that point, but as of now, I don't see there being a need for it.
Okay, because I don't want to get too deep into the operational aspect of
Yep.
it. You can do what you want at your beach.
Yep.
But if there's no cooking facilities, let's say, inside the bathhouse, which is just the 2 bathrooms, the lifeguard stand, and maybe, I think, some cops sitting there once in a while. What about when I go there and have a picnic and 5 boxes of pizza with my kids and 6 of my friends?
I mean, we do have garbage cans, so, we basically have been able, over the last couple of years, been able to just maintain it with the use of those garbage cans.
Okay, so you don't go from the garbage can to the dumpster, you go from the
No.
garbage can straight to the thing?
Correct. The
Okay.
staff come and take that and take it out.
Okay. Because I know where I live, where I have a house up in Rhode Island, there's no garbage cans. What you bring out to the beach, you take home with you. And they
Right.
give you plastic one-time use bags, which are legal.
Maybe we'll go that route down the road. yeah.
That's operational, I don't want to get into
Right.
that. But, so with regards to this dumpster, do you want to keep it on the plans now, or you want to get rid of it now and bring it in later if you need to?
I think it could be removed. I know that's come up as a question. I don't see a need to keep it in there.
But it's your choice. It's 100% your choice. It's not our choice.
As of now, I don't see there being a need for it.
But it's
So,
on the plans today, right?
Where is it?
Correct. So,
By the picnic area.
Okay.
yeah, it's right over here, yeah. Yeah, I think that could be removed at this point.
Because if you remove that, then you're removing, I don't know, 8 bushes that go around it, and you're removing the fence that goes around, so maybe save a couple shekels.
Or would you want to keep all
Yeah, I
that,
mean,
but just not have the dumpster?
I'm sorry?
Would you want to keep the shrubbery and screening for a potential future dumpster?
We will continue the planting along that, and in the event the dumpster came in, because it would have to have a proper enclosure, I would just say address it at that time.
Same thing I'm thinking.
Yeah, okay.
So that's, around the dumpster, you have 3 VDs, and those are Vernum, Denham, Arrowwood perennials, that are 3 of them, and there's
CA.
6 CAs. What's a CA? CA is a ruby spice sweet gum. So that's 9 bushes that go away.
We can disperse them throughout the planting area, but remove the dumpster.
Okay, so we're gonna remove the dumpster enclosure. Then, I mean, you can either keep those 9, or we can just get rid of them. It doesn't matter.
We'll work it out.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure the application and the resolution that we write
Sure.
says, the dumpster's on the plan, screened by, fencing and 9 bushes, and now it's
Right.
gone.
Right,
So if it's off, it's off. If it's on, it's on.
It's off.
it's off.
It's off. Okay, we just lost the dumpster. Okay. That takes one thing off it. And then with regards to, I know near the boat ramp, there's a really cool like park, and I think there's a monument that says something on the end. There's a sidewalk in there. Is that sidewalk being continued at all? Or it's
No,
just staying the way it is?
we're not modifying that little park area at all.
Okay. And that's outside of the 7.9 acres?
That area, I think, by the land is included, but it's not being touched.
Touched. There's no work to be done.
That's what I was saying, the flavor of those plantings
Yeah.
to be continued across. I
Yeah.
think it
There's seagrass in that
would be a
section.
very nice look to continue that look across. Yeah, okay.
Because I didn't see. Okay, I've asked a million questions, you've asked them. Great. So let's start with Jamie. Anything you want to ask, add?
Yeah, just a quick one. What are the ADA improvements around the existing buildings and pathways that are listed?
So currently, there is a curb ramp that gets you into the area around the bathhouse. So we're improving not that curb ramp access, but also a sidewalk edge. Basically connects all the way over to the boat club.
And then, just to follow what she said, you said there's 7 handicap spots over by the emergency exit in the
No,
back?
there's 2 here, there's 2 here, and I believe there's 3 over here. So 2 by the picnic area, 2 by the bathhouse, and 2 or 3 by the boat club.
Okay. Go ahead, Jamie.
That's all I have for now.
That's it. George?
Okay.
One question I have that might be more for you. In the mornings, when you're out there, they come and they like comb the beach and like pick up all the shells because it's sharp and it hurts your feet and your dog's feet.
No dogs on the beach, brother.
Allegedly. I've heard there's no dogs on the beach.
This guy's an elected official.
There are no plantings there, so the machine that he uses to get out there to do that cleaning can get up and onto the beach like pretty easily. Will these plantings prohibit that, right? Because you have low vegetation between the trees. So I'm not sure how is that operationally? Have you thought about like, you're obviously still gonna have to do that, but if you have, I don't think the trees would matter, but because you have little vegetation in between all the trees, it's fine to walk on. You've got kids and you're running, it's no big deal, but that thing is much bigger than a golf cart, right? So I'm not sure.
Sounds like you need a curb cut.
We'll double check with Sandy. I know we reviewed the plans with him in the past. I don't know who he delegates to maintain the beach, but we'll
Who's
talk with him.
Sandy?
Sandy's
the guy
their
that maintains
foreman.
the beach?
The
Park
foreman.
supervisor.
The guy's name's Sandy?
Yes.
And he takes care of the sand?
Yes.
He's
It's
the
not
park-
nickname?
His staff maintains.
He's a
Just like your last name's Park and you Parks Department?
Exactly, yeah.
So we'll concur with him, but he's reviewed the plans, but I have not seen him recently to talk through the plans, but make sure he has access.
Yeah, because it would just be a shame to
Yeah.
plant a bunch
Drive
of
over the shrubs.
shrubs and then you
Yes.
just mow them over
It would.
very quickly.
This guy's going over the curb with his fancy machine,
Yeah.
wiping out the curb cut.
But other than that, no, it looks like certainly the drainage will be significantly improved because it does flood. You just think it's going to rain and that parking lot floods.
On page, it's a C104, is that a curb cut kind of to the east? Well, there's a 7 right
And
there?
a 6.
There's a 6 and a 7?
We do not have any curb cuts designated, so I'll just have to check.
Sidewalk.
There's a break in the black
Yeah,
line.
And that's not intentional of having.
Just for the number.
That's an overlay?
Yeah.
Okay. Amy?
I just want to make sure the plant selections don't grow, the ones that are low, don't grow high
Yep.
and obstruct views. I think that's an important thing with regards to surrounding the parking lot and actually at the street level as well.
Yes.
We don't really want it to, I don't think that's something people want. I think we want to, for lots of reasons, be able to, obvious ones, to be able to see through those sight lines. The drainage, I think, is going to be a big improvement. So those are, I think most of my questions have been addressed.
Do we need any kind of maintenance plan at all on this thing?
On the drainage stuff,
We
sure.
need a maintenance plan on the drainage.
well, certainly the
We need a maintenance
drainage.
plan on the landscaping?
Well, the landscaping, if you think about the seagrasses and things, usually the commission's policy is that something dies, you need to replace it. So we will,
But that's usually just the first planting season, no?
no,
Or 2
we
planting?
will
In
pursue.
perpetuity? Really? Wow, okay. You got that?
They're guaranteed the first
Your
year.
tree dies
That's
in
the
5
easy
years,
one.
you're replacing it.
I should just note too, even though Candace isn't here, he did upload to the record that he signed off on all outstanding issues.
Correct. The town sent this out to an outside engineer who looked at it, issued 2 letters. The first letter said, Dan, you need to make some changes to some of the reports. Dan uploaded those, and our engineer signed off earlier today saying, yes, he's reviewed the drainage, he's reviewed the grading, and he's comfortable with the plans.
Thank you. And then we do need a drainage management plan, right?
A maintenance plan?
Yeah.
Going forward? I believe, Dan, you included one.
We have one included in the package.
That's what this is. Sure.
Yeah.
We got these 2 things right. Okay. The last item, you went over this a lot in the application for Weed Beach, when we extended Weed Beach, the wetlands that are off the coast, that you're fixing it or you're doing something with it. You're doing the same thing here, aren't you?
So the difference between this and Weed Beach is that these are tidal wetlands.
Okay.
So basically they flood periodically. So there's no change in grade within the current wetland area.
Because it was like wetlands under the water on that plan.
Yeah, so the wetlands are basically this pod right here, just to the north side of that one jetty extending from the current bathhouse.
Right, wetlands to area restored 3,746 square feet, elevation to remain unchanged.
Correct, so it's only being planted per approval by DEEP.
That's installed plugs, 18-inch on center,
Yes.
and there's a bunch of different names of the plugs. I'm not going to.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep. So no change in grade there, all handwork.
that's all handwork. So you can send some guy out there in freezing water and make him dig holes.
Yeah.
It's
No
a lot of,
machines.
it says 415, huh? You are. You put in 1,200
Plugs.
1,200 pieces of seagrass there, or whatever they are.
One by one.
18
They do have a little post that they plug it.
So is that going to grow up to?
It'll grow. Seagrass grows 12 to 18 inches tall. It's there now. It's just periodic spot areas. It's not very dense. And DEEP really want us to revegetate that to bring it back to its full function.
And is that similar to what's over by the boat ramp?
Boat ramp has some of it there, yes, but not as much of an area. This is actually fairly flat in the world of a wetland. It's below the water.
Okay, fantastic. You've been very good at this. Anything else from you two guys before I open up to the general public? No. Would anybody in the general public like to speak to this application? Elected officials go first. Monica, you're not good? You're good? Go ahead, sir. Welcome.
Hi.
Just come to the podium, state your name and affiliation for the record.
My name's Alex Bernstein. I live at 116 with my wife Jennifer Arrington.
Welcome. 116 Pear Tree Point?
116 Pear Tree Point, yes. Well, first and foremost, I think it's a little unfair to have these plans, which a lot of things are being even uploaded today, for the neighbors to have been updated about this type of project, just a week ago. When the letters went out, I feel like it'd be important for us to give us enough time to really look at the things and maybe find outside engineers. I know you guys had a second opinion, but for the people who live in the direct vicinity to have, a little bit of time to...
Or just to even make our questions to Park and Rec directly so that we don't have to get certain questions answered. That you guys are planning and zoning.
You guys the plans and question comes to us. You go to a Parks and Rec Commission and speak to those guys whenever you want.
I know, but we didn't even know any of this was happening. So we would have, but we weren't actually told any of it was going on.
No, not that.
So we feel badly that I guess we're bringing up some of this now because we know that that's not your purview, but I guess we weren't aware of it. So I guess a few of the things were that we noticed that on the application, on the maps, and they showed the wetland area. There's the one actually in front of 116 and 124, and they showed it kind of an island, a wetland island, and then another, and that's actually on the bigger maps that they uploaded. I guess that's because they're doing the boat ramp going down and the dredging. Yeah. So that's actually not an island of wetlands anymore. It's actually grown and connected completely.
The map that's being used was last updated in 2019. The wetlands since then have grown pretty significantly.
Great.
Also with mussel beds, which is, it's improving the water quality and actually really helping with wave erosion and things like that, so which is wonderful, especially if now with the new drainage system that's gonna be working, I guess there's probably gonna be a lot more water coming out from where the boat ramp is. So it's good, the wetlands is growing there, but I guess we just thought it would be pertinent, or maybe if possible, we were wondering if they could get that, an update done on that, so they were working off of a map that showed, I guess, how big the existing wetlands were.
Yeah, because
especially
the
if part of
dredging,
it-
as it is mapped in the plan, is likely going to be interfering with the mussel beds that have probably grown there, and certainly the marshland or the wetlands that are growing out into that area.
Okay, there's two questions there, and I got two answers for you. One is, they're not doing any work in that section other than fixing the boat ramp. So there's no proposed work in that section. And with regards to the dredging, that's not our purview.
Okay.
That you gotta go speak to the state. And they got their approval in
22.
October 2022.
Yeah.
So if the map was from, I think you might have said 2016,
19.
19, so
Because we even thought by the
it
boat
got
launch
approved
there
in 2022.
Okay.
But the only thing they're doing in that section, that's the question I just asked, is they're ripping out the old boat ramp
And regrading.
and regrading, putting a new one in.
Yeah.
And all that's been approved by DEEP, right, Dan? Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know
Or
Yeah, no.
3
about
years ago.
wetlands
So
and
I guess,
water.
well, we were also wondering that too, that the permit that they said, there wasn't any, they didn't actually, I don't know if that they need to, or we couldn't actually find the permit. So we were wondering if they could give us like the permit number or something so we could look it up, because we also know that now that was approved 3 years ago. So one of the things we wanted to do, but again, we only found out recently, is we had actually wanted to find that and look at what maps DEEP approved that on and all of that boat, so we could make sure that the wetlands that they were looking at was kind of
Up to date.
with what is actually there now, especially since that is so important with things like sea level rise and keeping the water quality.
But see, that was the question that I asked, which is the wetlands permit lasts for 7 years?
Right.
Five
Five years?
Right.
So if the wetlands get surveyed in '21, and the wetlands change in the 6 years from '21 till the thing expires, they can do whatever they want.
Well, that's actually what we wanted to look into, because in it said that part of the permit was not disturbing any of the current wetland habitat. So we thought even if the permit says that, they probably still assume that you're not going to disturb the wetland habitat, not that you're not going to disturb the wetland habitat as of the issue of the permit. But that's something we wanted to look into, but we didn't have like the permit information or the number
Okay,
of
that's
the
fine.
permit. So that would just
I
be
don't have it
interesting. I don't
either.
know.
but
And
you
that
don't-
wasn't included in the,
Yeah.
Yes,
You
so,
get, I mean, we don't require that, do we?
we couldn't see it in the
Hold on
application.
one second. We don't require
I
it.
don't recall if Dan uploaded it or not. and
But
I
do
know
we
he made
require it
reference to
anyway?
We wouldn't require it because it's not,
It's, see, we don't require it, so he doesn't have to put it up on our website, but I'm sure Jennifer Parks would love to give it to you.
Could we get we couldn't see either the maintenance plan for the stormwater management system, which we thought was great. You know, the valve coming in, we thought was wonderful improvement. Also, the larger catchment basins, we thought was a great idea. Although, we did note that, like, across the street at 150 Pear Tree Point, a lot of the current storm drains in the street, because obviously it's Long Island Sound coming from one way, but it's the river. Things come down from the river the other way. So we get kind of garbage sometimes coming down the river or driftwood, and we get it from both sides. So those get clogged very quickly. So I guess one of our only concerns was we couldn't find, although maybe it's there now, because I know things were, there was one document with 85 pages was posted today.
Like
This
it
is
was,
dated December 6th, and this one's also dated December 6th. These are both on the website, right?
right. And then Dan made some updates in response to Mr. Canis's comments. Maybe Dan can explain the changes he made to those reports. That would be helpful.
Oh, yeah, we were just wondering if the maintenance plan
Yeah,
is
if
on
the-
there.
yeah.
It's
In
there.
there.
It's in the drainage plan in the back, there's
Yeah.
a checklist of maintenance and the operations to be done.
and is
Drainage,
that, is that part of the
Is that the one
ministerial
uploaded today?
duties of
It
the
hasn't
town?
changed, it's-
Okay.
Hold it, no, don't answer, we'll answer.
Oh, sorry.
Say, no, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Is that part of the ministerial duties of the town to manage those and regularly follow the maintenance plan
Reinforce it, yes.
and reinforce it?
There's a gentleman named the zoning enforcement officer.
Okay.
Where if this says he's got to change it, fix it clear it out every 5 years, or every 6 months, or every 2 weeks.
However, whatever it's written in there, that's what they have to do.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, wonderful, okay, because I know that there have been issues with just the ones on the street getting clogged. So that was another thing we worried about. I mean, this sounds great going forward, but we also know, in theory, when it actually happens, obviously, that's a lot of money and resources and time that actually goes into then having someone have to go down every time it's high tide and suck up all the sand that has gone into every catchment.
What Dan talked about in his presentation, you have a thing called a shop vac come in. That's one of those huge things at the size of it, like a big dump truck that you see in New York City, or a garbage truck, and it's got this hose in the front.
Yeah,
They
like
go in
for
there,
like
they
a
stick
septic
it on
tank
there,
or
and
something.
everything
Yeah.
comes out, it goes
Okay.
into and they send it back to Stanford.
Okay.
And that's gonna be in here, that they're gonna check those catch basins, but the ones on the street, that you gotta talk to Public Works, that's not, the
not
Parks
involved.
Department's the stuff that's inside the 7.9
Okay, so once
acres.
this is
Well,
done,
no, that we were
that'll
just-
be the Parks Department.
Yeah, we know that
Okay.
the public works are a different, but it was just something that we've seen over, over the years.
That those
living
get
there.
filled so quickly, we
So
were
we just
worried
wanted to
about
make
like,
sure that
even
the-
having even bigger catchment systems or having even more places to catch it, we were like, it's gonna fill up
Yeah.
quickly, but.
Another thing that I noted in the plan that you guys were planning on doing this outside of the season of migratory bird mating seasons. From what the IPAC resource list shows.
You can ask me, I'll ask Kevin.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
The
fine.
IPAC
He's-
resource list shows that's, if you're outside of the mating season, that gives you November 21st to January 14th.
Which seemed
That's the
impossible.
entire period.
We were like,
That happened
we were
once
like, that makes it
before.
seem really hard for them to do.
Yeah, it happened once before with ospreys. Some
Yeah.
guy wanted to build a osprey on Delafield Island, and there was an osprey there. The guy got hammered. He lost a year.
So the second they see a bird, they basically have to pull back and stop work? Is that what?
Someone's gonna come in and say, you can't touch it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was, all right.
No, I mean, we don't enforce that.
No, I
don't
wasn't
chase
asking. I was
that
just curious, because I thought the November 21st
Yeah, just when they said
January
they would do
14th.
it, they would do it around all the migratory mating seasons, and then he looked up what those were, and he was like,
Well,
that's really hard
it's on the,
to
it's
do."
on the,
It's on the application, we're like, that's really difficult to try to do.
bird. Yeah, no, I know.
It depends on the bird, too.
yeah.
It's
okay.
not just in general migratory seasons, it's the
Well, they
specific
listed
bird.
they actually listed the ones.
Yeah, they listed each of the birds that are in that area, and then they gave the dates for when their migration is and when they're mating.
His guy Dan,
Yeah.
and Weston and Simpson, they do this stuff for a living.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's not the first time they've run into a
Alright.
bird on their project.
We don't do it for a living.
Me neither.
Yeah. So we're just concerned.
And then I guess
You're
we
doing
kind
great.
of had the same apprehension that you did with all of the new trees being planted about the sight lines.
Yes.
Because people do go enjoy like sitting there and viewing out. So we were a little worried about all of the additional trees going in, especially since now they'd already planted, I think, a few in the past few years, the ones that were there. And then we were a little concerned, the ones we were a little more concerned about are the ones on the edge between the beach and the street.
Yeah.
Because they planted a few last year and they planted them under the power lines. And they're not big enough yet, but they will be. And we kind of just thought more of, it may be creating a problem for themselves in about 5-10 years' time when they grow into the power lines.
And if there isn't a plan to maintain them and do the trimming to make sure that they're staying the right size and pruning them back and doing all that stuff, I don't know how much budget is going to be.
Sycamore trees get tall.
Yeah, that's the best part about P and Z. We don't have a budget.
Yeah.
And I can tell them to do whatever I want. and That's their problem.
Okay, so yeah, just the oak and sycamore tree, the oak trees and the
I mean, I
sycamore
know
trees
they
get
get
fairly tall.
They get pretty big, those guys.
But if it's near the power lines,
They're right, some of the ones they planted last year are
right
right
underneath them.
underneath.
trust me, Eversource will come in and chop them down.
Okay.
Okay, well then that's sad for the town to buy all the trees and then, okay.
Buyer beware, they know what they're doing.
Another one was, are the engineers going to be coming to the site to visit it on occasion to certify that things are happening as they
As to the
they need
plan
to?
says, okay.
Yeah, okay.
It's some major projects, which this one's all a horizontal project, it's not a vertical project. On vertical projects, we could have a site engineer there. This one, I mean, it's 100.
Right. As part of a certificate of completion, we'd require that the applicant's engineer go out to the site and witness during certain
Do some
times,
sort of-
the drainage, and then at the end of the project, certify that the drainage was installed properly.
Great.
And that the landscaping was done properly. That's very typical for all P&Z projects.
Okay, so when they put in a drainage Caltech, before they fill in the hole, they gotta have P and Z go out there and make sure it's there. Sometimes they put like black tar around them.
Okay.
And then before they can fill in the hole, they gotta do
So you guys have nothing to do then with making sure like the maintenance budget either is available? That's completely different. So you guys just approve the plan then and then, so they could get approval to actually I guess we're a little worried that they're gonna get the approval to do this and then maybe not have the maintenance going forward for like
The budget for that.
to maintain all of the new drains and the work, and then that could cause in itself,
I mean,
you
we
know, in
know,
5 years' time, because, you know, we've all lived there for so long, and obviously, it is a coastal area, as you said, in beaches, and they do flood, and we're expecting the water to come over and things to fill up and things to come down the river, so I guess we were just a little worried that this all sounds so great, and then if the budget dries up to maintain this whole new big system underneath the parking lot, it could end up.
yeah, and we know that even if you just gift a bench to the town, you know, you have to.
That gift's only good for 10 years, and then they say,
But we can't remove all the
it's
stuff
much harder,
underneath the
it's much
parking lot.
harder to remove a bench.
Were you living here when the benches were donated to this thing? The town didn't want to accept them for some reason.
Well, I know, because so now I don't know if you've looked at the form if you want to donate a bench. You have to like endow it
Yeah.
with the maintenance, which is actually makes a lot of sense, but it makes you then think more about a project like this when obviously sometimes they approve a budget, but they don't exactly, I guess, commit to approving a maintenance budget going forward. And as, you know, he was just saying, it's a lot easier to remove a bench than remove an entire drainage system.
If they're in violation of the maintenance plan, that end of the hallway is going to talk to that end of the hallway.
Okay.
They'll get it fixed.
And I guess another one of our concerns was just wondering about if there was anything in the plan about, I guess, this was about making sure that the parking lot didn't flood as much. Was there anything about, I guess, replenishing the beach and the sand more? Because as you saw some of those pictures they showed over the past few years, we've had some big floods, and when the water's gone back out, it's like pulled a ton of sand with it.
That's something that ends up being in the Parks and Rec budget every year, or every other year, when they want to replenish beaches. And a couple of years ago, it got cut from the budget. A couple of years ago, they put it in. This year, last year I heard it was back in. But yeah, but we can't regulate that.
Okay, so
you don't know
we
when
were just wondering that if there was
Superstorm
anything in
Sandy's
there
coming.
about replenishing, I guess, the beach side of it. Especially if now, like, when they come back in to do the sand, oftentimes with those big machines, when it comes over in the water, they'll like push it back onto the beach. And if now they've got these different catch basins and things where the sand is going to go into those instead, that sand now can't even be pushed back onto the beach. That's just going to go down and, I guess, get sucked out to.
Well, that's what Dan said in his presentation, that if any sand gets into those catch basins, it's going to get sucked out. And the two islands we were talking about that don't have trees or bushes in them, those are catch basins. So those, if they do fill up, they're bringing in their vacuum truck and sucking it out.
Well, I mean, will they be putting that back on the beach, or will they be?
Yeah, that doesn't go. I
They
mean,
usually, because that has.
Well, that dirty sand goes back.
Well, that's what I mean. So I guess now I guess
probably
before, I guess
West
some of the
Virginia.
clean sand, when it gets pushed, they push it back onto the beach.
Right.
But
A couple of years ago, Tokenique Beach Club, they redid their whole beach.
yeah.
And it was on their dime. They wanted their beach bigger, and they paid for it, and they got all the approvals.
Okay. So I guess
But whenever they do that, the big thing that's important to all of us is that it's clean fill, clean sand,
Yes.
certified.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and all the dirty sand goes to West
Will
Virginia.
go away. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that there was the flood storage requirements are not considering that there's going to be any impact around in the.
Oh, yeah, I guess they said that there wouldn't be any bad impact or flood impact to the neighborhood.
But I think it was just decided that they weren't gonna do the work on that, the evaluation was not gonna be done.
That they didn't need to do an evaluation
I
study.
think part of it is when you're this close to the water, you don't put in things that are called Coltex,
Okay.
which hold the water in place and dissipate it out. So it comes in on one side, it goes through the system, then it goes out by the boat ramp. That's the question that we asked them.
Okay.
So they're not doing any retention. The difference between retention and just moving it is two different things. Like over at Darien Commons, there's a 1.2 million gallon retention thing underneath that shopping center.
Okay.
They can hold half the water from Canaan that goes into there.
Yeah.
Oh, and then did that like
since tech-
slowly disperse out afterwards? Okay.
And since technically they're not actually raising the parking lot, there's not gonna be a dispersion of water, so, okay.
The parking lot that's all the way to the left, that's by the water where everyone sits at.
Yeah,
That's
it's
they're
staying
not
the same.
raising it.
Yeah.
It's gonna raise maybe an inch because that's the thickness of asphalt. It's
yeah.
only the spot in the middle.
Yep.
I guess that's it. I guess if nothing's going to be, and they said nothing was going to be directed back out to the street, right? I guess because the one thing right now too is unfortunately, when the water comes in over the parking lot, it goes out into the road, and then the road is filled with water too.
I've driven through many times. And
Yeah,
my little
so I guess it's
BMW
just-
gets
okay.
stuck in it all the time.
So,
No, that's where the curb is there, and the sidewalk is there.
yeah,
Or not the sidewalk, but the curb.
to drive on?
Yep.
Yeah. I think,
I guess the big one was the maintenance plan, so
Yeah, the
if they
maintenance
have to
plan,
stick
if
to the
that's-
maintenance plan of,
yeah.
Right here.
And then I guess and the other thing was, I think similar to what you guys were saying with the trees and the grasses and everything, and making sure the heights are right for all of that, and making sure it doesn't
I guess that's it, that's all.
get in the way of everybody enjoying the beach.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I sit there in the morning, drink my coffee, and stare
Yeah.
at Port Washington.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky enough to live near it. I mean, we just want to make sure it's protected and make sure it doesn't.
This whole thing is really a resilience project.
Yeah.
If they don't do it, the beach is gonna be gone.
Yeah, no, and we totally get that, and we know that the sea levels are rising, and
Yeah.
we're just trying
I mean,
to fight the tides.
That's
so
gonna
to
come out
speak.
later, and Jennifer put in what's it called, a mandatory referral in the Town Plan and Conservation Development from 2016. It talks about the sea levels rising, and that's in the excerpts are in here. It's not part of this applicant, it's part of another one. But question, can we leave the comments open for a couple days, so that in case these guys go home tonight and they want to email in something they think about in the morning?
No.
No, so we're going
You
to
have
close it tonight. We'll close
You
it.
either have to close it tonight or leave it open for everybody.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Be your choice.
You good?
We think so. I mean, we tried to contact some more neighbors. I mean, actually, quite a few of them are out of the
town.
country.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's after the holidays.
Shockingly, a few of them are in New Zealand
Yeah,
together.
actually,
not
a bunch
knowing.
of them, not knowingly, it turned out to be all in New Zealand right now on Pear Tree Point, so.
But
But
yeah,
that's it. I mean,
think
I'm
that's
sure.
it.
Aldo's here, he's one of your neighbors. He
No,
lives on Crane.
We definitely, oh no, we know.
On Crane, although
Yeah,
actually,
we-
no one on Crane Road was notified or had to be notified.
He's sitting right there. You can-
Well, we notified
We
them.
notified
Oh,
people.
see, you're nice, thank you.
Yeah, so, all right. I think
thank you.
that's-
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Next.
You want to join the RTM? So,
Welcome. Just state your name and affiliation for the record.
Sure. Janine Hackett. I live at 112 Pear Tree Point Road.
Welcome, Janine.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming.
Just a couple of questions. I couldn't really see the presentation. Way back when we first were going down this road and we talked about the flooding of the parking lot, and honestly, the 120 days has nothing to do with storms. It has to do with the tide. And it has to do with the high tide and the moon, the phase of the moon, and that the water coming over the side of the beach. And so my question is, I couldn't tell from your presentation, are we raising the part of the beach facing the south is at the high point? That's where the water doesn't come over, and the low point is further down. Are we leveling the whole parking lot? I couldn't, we are leveling.
No, I'm gonna let Dan answer that.
Yeah, I don't know.
After you ask me.
Originally, way back when, we were talking about that we're gonna raise the entire parking
We're
lot.
not doing
So it's all one length.
that. No.
So we're not doing that.
Did-
So we're still gonna have it's not storm. High tide water is still gonna be coming over, and that's what we're catching in the basins.
If the high tide water goes off the sand into the parking lot, there's a row of basins
Yep.
that separate the sand beach from the parking lot. And if it goes over that curb they're putting in, the design of the parking lot is to direct the water into those basins.
Right.
And then in the center, they're making a high point, so when the water, where the puddle is now, when you go there now, if there's a puddle today, it's gonna flow to the basins on the side, on each
Okay.
way. But they're not, the ones that face Long Island,
Yes.
those, that
That's fine.
elevation's not changing.
Yeah, that doesn't flood unless there's a hurricane.
Right.
It's the side beach or the west beach. So if we're collecting those basins, from what I understood, funneling them all to one area and pushing them out to where, say, the boat ramp
The
is
boat
or
ramp
somewhere.
is, yep.
So it's just this constant thing of bringing high tide over into the parking lot, back out, over into the parking lot, back
Yep.
out.
They're not retaining it, there's no retention.
No, I don't want them to retain. I
Yeah,
want them to
neither
lift
do
the
I.
parking lot so it doesn't flood.
Right.
So is this just like a tiny fix that isn't a fix?
But Dan can, go ahead.
So at the edge of the west parking lot, that curb line,
Yes.
it stays about the same where the bathhouse is.
Yep.
but it raises as you get
that's gonna
closer,
be level
closer to the catch
higher.
basin that was 4.2, that's getting raised. So it's not all holistically being raised.
Okay.
It's in the low area, as you mentioned, by the catch basin, that is blended back to the bathhouse. That's
Okay.
getting raised. So that curb line edge is going to act more like a barrier for those storm events that come up along the west beach, and it has to go higher to get over that curb into the parking lot. Currently, it all comes by the catch basin where it's very low.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yep.
because the curb follows the sand, but we're still following the sand. We're not raising the curb all the way to the boathouse.
From bathhouse to the boat club will be a consistent curb, relatively same elevation. That'll be higher than it currently is.
Like how much higher?
So at the catch basin is the highest, that's
Right.
4.227, so 2.5 feet.
Okay, so that will be 2.5
Yep,
feet, and
but
that will.
if you go over here, it's
Yeah.
only about 6 inches.
No, that makes sense.
Yes, and over here about 6 inches, because
Okay.
it stays the same. See, each end has to stay the same. So the middle is getting the raise. So I mentioned we're raising the parking lot. It's not like a pancake being raised altogether. It's a spot area that's low, a depressed area that's being raised. And
Okay.
then creating these small micro basins
Okay.
that now when water does come into the parking lot, it's not gonna go all the way here. It's gonna go to here, to here, to
Okay.
here,
Okay.
in smaller pockets.
So that it is being raised along the beach
Yes.
to the point of where it is, where
Yes,
it doesn't flood.
at the bathhouse.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, that makes more sense. My next question is, how many years is that going to help us? Because when we had the coastal engineer come in, when we went through the whole thing with Pear Tree Point Beach, and, it's flooding, and I actually believe it's more than 120 days per year currently, it's more like 160 or more. How much are we spending on this, and how many years is it buying us? Before.
I can't really answer that question. That's not, if it lasts 2 weeks, it lasts 2 weeks, we'll still approve it anyway. If they blow $2 million on a 2-week fix, that's
Yeah.
their problem.
No, I just
But
didn't
I
want
can tell you that
yeah.
Beach, since
Yeah.
I've been here in town, when they redid that thing, I stood up fantastic.
Yeah.
And I've
Oh,
been
I
in
want
town
it to be
25 years.
fantastic. I live there. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure we're doing the right thing. We're elevating it to the right elevation, and we're not going to do it, and it works for 3 years when we could have done 1 inch taller, and it worked 10 years.
Right.
That's
Okay.
my only, did you review the coastal engineer reports that were all done, 3 years ago, to see what is the correct height and what is the correct amount of money we spend on this, so we're not throwing away money.
I
That's
agree with
my-
you 100%.
That's my comment.
Yeah.
And hopefully that you get a copy of the full report of the coastal engineer and not the one page that was in the presentation.
Great.
Okay,
Okay,
thank
thank
you.
you. Anybody else want to speak to this application?
Oh, sorry, there's one, I'm so sorry.
You gotta come up and get your back out TV.
Just one last thing we forgot. There's
That's
no
okay.
parking for Great Island right now, so a lot of people go to Pear Tree Point to go, and if you're reducing the car parking spots, I know it's not by much, but now people park there to walk to Great Island. Is there anything in the interim for people that want to be able to, I don't know, or if you've thought about that? Because now I think the parking lot's actually busier, which is great. People are going and they're walking all the way over, so I just wanted to ask about that.
We have approved plans to widen the road for Great Island to facilitate parking there.
Oh, wonderful, okay.
Well, yeah, it's get through the legal
It's
system.
happened for a couple of years, but
We're trying to build parking in Great Island or road, trust me. Please.
One clarification.
Sure, you got it. Just state your name and
Yep.
affiliation
Yep.
for the record.
Vincent Shanley, Crane Road.
What was your name, sir?
Vincent Shanley. I live on Crane Road.
Fantastic.
The barbecues, are you taking them out? Are you moving them?
I didn't get an answer to that
I didn't get an
either.
answer, so I just, I know people use those things. It's one of the few places in town where folks can go barbecue. What are you gonna do with them? It was nebulous answer.
I hear you. Do you like them? You like
Yeah,
them? All right.
absolutely.
Jennifer, can you help us out with that? Has the commission decided yet?
I would say we would be relocating. We would relocate them in that area.
In that area, so you're gonna take them out, fix it, and probably put them back. They might go in the same exact spot, but have you thought?
Somewhere in that general vicinity.
And if there are 4 in there of that, you're gonna keep them 4, you're gonna add 2 more, and you don't know
Say
yet?
at a minimum, we would keep what we have there, the same number.
Okay.
Replace it with package. Replace them with a parking mission.
Oh, yeah. So, and we would, obviously, if they're in poor condition as we take them out, we would replace them with
So
new.
when you bid out the contract, you're gonna sell the contract, you're
Yes.
gonna give me 3 new ones, or replace as necessary?
Yes, replace as necessary. Yep,
Got it.
are we
exactly.
putting this in the resolution, or is this just? incidental
I guess that's gonna be the question of the commission, you know, to micromanage every little.
Yeah, because the barbecues are, the barbecue grills and the picnic tables are movable. The barbecue grills are not.
Correct.
On the plans, right? So that's a fixture you should put on the plans, a movable bench, you know, worry about. Okay. So we're gonna hold you to that. Colin, what's happening?
How are you?
Great, thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Colin Seeley. I'm current Commodore at the Darien Boat Club, and obviously a resident of Darien.
Welcome.
Thank you. Just wanted to say a couple things quickly. First of all, we appreciate the concern here. We've seen it firsthand, and really appreciate the town's commitment to this and the importance of it. I think you guys have done a really nice job with the parking. That was initially a big concern of ours, was losing a lot of parking spaces. And as you know, with Great Island, with busy weekends and so forth, we all need to use that space. So that's nice to see. Two things that we wanted to just bring up as a question. One is, it seems like the boat ramp parking might be a little more compressed now.
Yeah.
So just to kind of keep an eye on that, because there are busy weekends when we get a lot of people that come in to use the boat ramp for the day, and then on jet skis and things like that. And so we'd like to, just have that as a point of.
So are you talking about like trailer parking? If I came in from someplace and put the trailer parking?
If you came in there on a busy Saturday and you had to park your trailer or multiple trailers, that's, everyone's trying to use that same spot. So,
right.
That's a question. And then, obviously not a long-term issue, but construction access for us would be, something we'd be concerned about. If we do start right after Labor Day, for example, and we've still got boats in the water and we're not quite ready to move docks yet, and so forth, for whether it's for dredging or whether it's just, access to the club, we'd love to be able to work with you to make sure that, we can try to mitigate that as best as possible.
So has the Parks and Rec Department approached you? Do you bring in machines when you take apart the docks, or you just?
No, we don't. We do it all by boat.
Okay.
So, it's just sort of by hand unhooking them and then dragging them around.
So what construction access does the club need?
Meaning access to the club. If we can't get to the club from, Labor Day on, that's tricky, because that would be a lot to try to expect people to get.
So staging the work on the other side, potentially away from your side.
Exactly.
Until after what date makes sense for you?
But you also need it for fire access too, for crazy reason, if there was a fire inside the boat.
Yeah, that's true, right. Yeah, we'd need the access there too. We generally close on the first Saturday in November. So ideally, having access until that date would be great.
Okay.
If that can't happen, then maybe trying to just, help us out as much as you can to be.
Yeah, see, I hear you, that's why we brought it up, but you're gonna have to speak directly to either the Parks Department or the Parks and Rec Commission.
Okay.
Because I asked the question of when they're gonna start construction, and, it's after Labor Day. The club's still rocking, September 5th, right?
Yeah.
You still got Sini going out on this boat until November 1st, so they can't be dredging the channel, and you still got the boat docks out there, so.
Yeah, I guess that's
the
question.
I don't know who's responsible for dredging the channel versus you, but you obviously can't do both at the same time.
Yeah, and whether that would necessarily have to impact us on day one, but eventually it's, if what we saw was accurate, we're gonna have to get those docks moved, so.
I have a stinking suspicion the club's closing down that year, October 1st, not November 1st.
And if push comes to shove, sure. I mean, I think, we try our best to work with it, because obviously it's a big job.
Right,
and we wanted to see it happen, but.
So Pam, I'm sorry, Pam, Jennifer, can you make sure you put that on your checklist?
That's it. Thank you very much, though.
Thanks, Colin.
Really,
Thank you.
Great plan.
Great. Would anybody else like to speak to this application? Welcome, sir, please. State your name and affiliation for the record.
David Bolotin. We have a house at 150 Pear Tree Point.
Okay.
And the contiguous lot next door, we don't know the address.
You don't know the address of the lot next to your house?
Yeah, 136,
okay.
Maybe 146.
Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you. We had 3 concerns initially. I think the first one's been addressed.
Okay.
And that's the dumpster.
Yep.
I understand that that's being taken off the plans.
Dumpster's off the plans.
Sorry for my voice.
No more dumpster.
Second, we met with the Planning and Zoning Department last week. I met with Fred and Jeremy, and I had submitted some material and photos. Beautiful. So our second issue is the treatment, my voice. My second issue is that would be great. Yeah, new one.
I've been drinking it all night.
Was the flood water. Right now, it's kind of a beautiful thing that when the flood water comes in, the flood water rolls out. It's natural. There's a saddle in the parking lot, and I have concerns about how well the mechanical installations that we're doing, the drainage systems are going to work. The sumps, the check valves, and the other components, which I'm nowhere near an expert on. And I have some comfort knowing that the town is going to enforce a maintenance program for that.
100%, yes.
Great. So I think that's off the table because the lot we have, it's in a velocity flood zone, and we've seen that. It comes in, but then again just rolls out.
So, yeah.
So enough said on that.
That's why there's no retention on the property at all. It comes
goes
in
out
and
right
it goes
away.
out.
Yeah. And then the third issue, which is the biggest issue for us, is the sand migration. And we talked about that, and it's very, very impactful on our property. I can't emphasize how much, and I would invite the members of this commission to come to us anytime, come up our driveway and look at the sandbox in our backyard. All the sand that's put at the beach will end up on our property eventually. Great. I submitted an Army Corps of Engineer paper on the science behind the sand migration, the Lowen dune that forms on the street, and we become the secondary dune at our house. And I'm hoping that I can't look at you, I'm sorry.
You can look at him, he's a good looking guy.
If, that's being addressed with seriousness. I don't understand why the Parks Department is allowed to put the sand there and not be responsible for mitigating its migration onto neighboring properties. As you know, we're up for another proposal tonight where we're being held to a very high standard to make sure nothing comes off of our property.
You're talking about your pool that you put in?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So, I mean, my mother lived down in Florida, right by the beach. Yeah. And the storm blows, she gets sand in her front yard.
That sand is natural or dredged in. These are shell beds that we call a beach, and we artificially bring a lot of sand in, as you mentioned.
Well, it's just replacing the sand that's there. I mean, at Rhode Island, they're replacing the sand that's there.
Well, there's no sand there now. So we're putting sand in. I don't want to be argumentative, but this is a shellfish bed, not a sandy beach. So we artificially are bringing sand in to make it a beach, and it's gone in a couple of years. Where does that sand go? It's washed out like that picture that they showed, or it's in my driveway, or up in my house. And I don't understand the legality of bringing that sand in without a permit and doing things to mitigate that sand's migration. The beaches in Florida are different than what happens here with these prevailing fall winds. I submitted video of, we typically have 50, 60 mile an hour winds coming from the northwest and also sometimes from the southwest, and it just blows it all right across. You can see in the video, we talk about a little bit of sand. No, it's many, many yards each time there's a storm. So I don't want to belabor that point. I just want to ask the commission to make sure that's addressed within the purview and the jurisdiction that the commission has to help us on our properties.
What we did do, and I asked Dan that question, some of the low-lying landscaping they're putting in, is the idea part behind that is to keep the sand from blowing off the beaches. That's why we said there's one thing that's got, what was it, I said 1,200 plugs? No, there's another one. There's 750 native salt-tolerant grasses being put in on that area.
Not in the wetlands, but in the area between the beach and the street.
The wetlands has got 1,265, and the other part that I think we're talking about now is 750.
He's talking about the barrier.
He's right behind the dumpster, so that's I would call that the West Beach, right? That's the
beach. South Beach.
So let's call it a.
No. Oh, yeah.
That's west. This is north. That's west.
So
he lives right here.
For clarity, I want to call it an Lowen dune between the asphalt area of the beach and the asphalt at Pear Tree Point. That's a sand dune.
Okay.
And in 2004, the town leveled it. It was about 24 inches high. Through natural forces, it's reconstituted itself back up to probably the level that I can recall when they took it out. There was a fence and a dune there. It's interesting that the town put these large boulders there. Those boulders are almost buried now in sand, and this is a good thing. I'm looking for information about whether they plan to scrape that down to street level again, or they're going to actually raise it higher. That dune being higher is a benefit to us, especially if it has vegetation on it.
The boulders that are on Pear Tree Point Road, that one, where my kid gets locked in there at night, he cuts through him in his car, and he breaks through.
Yeah, that's your kid I see out there.
Yeah, he's there at 11 o'clock at night. The beach closes at 8.
It's usually 11, 12 o'clock at night.
The gate's closed, they have to go around it.
So anyway, that's... Yeah, so again, hoping we're not going to, I couldn't tell the elevations of the proposal where this dune is. I'm looking, I'm hoping that we can keep that dune as higher and make sure it's vegetated. Parks and Recs paid a lot of money to put vegetation up there 2 years ago. It wasn't maintained, it's all dead. They actually put mulch there. And it's just all under sand now. So this isn't a gripe, it's just looking for whatever your jurisdiction is or enforcement to give us and the Durkins assurances that that dune is not going to be lowered again.
Okay. And that's the dune that's on the south border, right?
I get confused with direction on the strip between the asphalt of the beach and Pear Tree Point Road, where there's boulders. It's a linear line of...
Great, that's where my kid goes.
I submitted a picture of the tree after the scrape. You can see the marks where the sand was and how much lower that area was.
Do you know what spot he's talking about?
Yes, it was a strip between...
No, when he's finished, you can come up and answer his questions.
So I think on that issue, I've said all I need to say. I'm just hoping to help keep the sand from migrating, and also just a curiosity whether the town really should properly be, the Parks and Recs Department should have to submit an application to put that sand on the beach. I don't know if that's a given. Florida's different than, here. I don't mean to repeat myself. And so those are the issues: the dumpster, the sand, the water. And by the way, I love this plan. I think it's going to be great. They're going to improve the look of the beach, but I'm just looking for some relief.
Great.
Okay.
With regard to the application of putting in sand, I mean, we allow it at certain spots, and we allowed it at Tokenie Club. Is that ours jurisdiction when they brought in all that sand?
Well, I think some of it at Tokenie Club certainly was in state jurisdiction. So clearly where there's dredging project, the town doesn't have any jurisdiction because it's all below elevation 3.4, which is state jurisdiction.
Great.
So much of the sand replenishment is likely in that jurisdiction. The question is, would you need a local permit for that? I don't think so, but.
Yeah, because remember that Wilder came in and said we extended the beach by 6 feet?
Right.
He had the whole thing with the
Club.
pool.
Yep.
The Tokenie Club.
And it was not in the town's jurisdiction.
Right. So the permit that they got to bring in that sand was issued by the state?
That's correct.
There you go. That's what your permit is. It's a state permit.
That's DEEP?
It's gotta be. That's the only one that's out there.
Okay.
Because Tokenie Club is a private beach, and over at Norotan Bay, it's a private beach. Those guys want to extend their beach, they have to get permits from the state. Tokenie Club, when they did their clubhouse and their pool and all that stuff, we went over that stuff, but they said we were going to pull in sand from the beach, and they had deep approval for all that stuff. So that's where their permit comes from.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Dan, if you could just...
Sure.
I'm dead serious. Where the guardhouse is, right?
Yes.
Last year,
To the left.
2 years ago, if you stay at the guardhouse, to the left.
To the left.
2 years ago, there was space between the boulders that was 6 feet, and at night, when the cops locked the gate, my kid would over the gate. This year, they closed it, so the car stayed there one night. I picked them up. Right, but that's the spot I think we're talking about.
Yes. So I'm going to look at it closer. We have that planted, and that's where the picket fence is going to be located.
Yep.
I'll check the elevations as to, we're not looking to reduce that elevation at all, but I'll have to check those and make sure as we're keeping it at, and if it will aggregate the sand naturally. That's where it blows across the parking lot, and it'll stop there before hopefully going across the street.
And along that street, you put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees on that spot. And what's this thing here? Do you remember that? There's a little crosshatch thing that's to the left of the gatehouse. I don't know what that is.
On which sheet number, Steve?
It's sheet 104. There's like a half moon. That crosshatch thing is still some other thing. But you're not changing the elevation on that section.
But I'll double check this is what elevation we have, and survey.
Okay, fantastic. I think we got him. Anybody else want to speak to this application? Come on, Aldo, you're always a good guy here.
I think we should put a pizza oven at the beach.
I knew it. In case you want to have a pizza oven at the beach, it's going to be from Italy. I got yourself a vendor. He'll take the garbage away, trust me. It'll save a delivery time for the pizza boxes. Anybody else? Any questions? Are we missing anything?
No, I know the engineer from Weston and Sampson is here. I know Dan has included some information from the engineer about flooding, making sure that this won't cause flooding on adjacent properties or to the street.
Let's hear from him. Come on up. Oh, I thought you were just the tech guy.
For the record, Joe Perugini from Weston and Sampson.
Are you a professional engineer?
Professional engineer,
We like you.
certified in Connecticut, working with Dan on this project. Yes, we received a question from the reviewing engineer. The questions were specific to whether or not the filling of the site, does it cause any wave action from acting onto adjacent properties? So the nature of the filling is low in profile. It's not significant enough to, if you're putting a mound in, when the wave comes in, does it split and unnecessarily cause wave action on the adjacent properties? Based on that minor filling and the way that the stormwater is done. Now this, as Dan had explained, the parking lot has a dip down in the center currently.
Great.
What we're trying to do is basically level it out around the rim along the west side and create dips, low profile dips. These vary in height from 6 inches, just a few inches, to at the most 12 inches.
The dips you're talking about?
The dips.
Okay.
But they're,
you said it's a minor regrading and refilling. You're bringing in 150 trucks worth of dirt.
that's right.
So that's a lot.
But it's spread over a large area, and the slopes are fairly flat.
Okay.
They're between 1% and 2%. So 1% and 2% is sometimes indiscernible by the eye, but it's enough for drainage. We need it to drain properly. So we want enough drainage, but we don't want to you don't want to see dramatic dips in a parking lot either. But these are not enough to cause any kind of wave action. We even looked at some of the state building code, and they even have a section. One of our responses was, when you're doing minor regrading of a parking lot and landscaping, that they wouldn't consider that to be enough to trigger any type of extra study of wave action. If you were to put anything vertical, anything substantial, large dunes or perhaps, or something that structures, something that would, then another analysis would be needed. So that was our response regarding the wave action. I did want to mention, we talk about water quality. Dan had pointed out that all of the catch basins will have hoods and deeper sumps. That'll be the coarse sediment and sand that gets into the system.
It splits it in half, the light stuff and the heavy stuff goes to the bottom?
Yeah, the heavy stuff goes on the bottom. They're deeper. They can hold more sediment. So you get more storage. The hoods trap oil from running off the parking lot and getting into the roadway system, then outletting into the marina. So this has several levels of protection. Now that's the coarse sediment, oils, but at the end of the system, there's a water quality structure. Before it enters the roadway system, we refer to it as a generic water quality structure, but we have requirements that it be a structure that is on the Connecticut DOT's approved list. And these are structures that have met rigorous testing and requirements similar to what's approved in other states. And so we only allow a structure that's been tested. And there's various types, but there's a finer sediment that can get past the hood and the sump. You have the coarse sand, but there's the really fine sediment that's referred to as total suspended solids. It's powdery almost, and those are those suspended solid sediments when they get into a coastline, wetlands, those are what are damaging to fish and plant life and so forth. And that's the sediment that we need that water quality structure to isolate and trap. And that's before the valve that connects into the roadway system. So there's a structure there that forces that powdery, fine sediment and traps it, and that will also be vacuumed out with the vacuum.
I was going to ask you, how, in your professional opinion, how often do you think you vacuum out these drains? And the other half of the question is, when the water comes into the catch basin that's by the bathhouse, and it's going to go through the system and out by the boat dock or by the boat ramp, it gets treated in there in some place, right? Because if my car's leaking oil, it's going into that same basin. You're not taking my leaky oil and sending it out to the boat dock.
That's right. The hoods are creating some protection, but if water fluctuate, there's a potential for it to get past it, but not the water quality structure. So that is designed to trap oils, and it also has a reservoir for both sediment and oils to be trapped in there. It gets vacked out like a manhole.
How many times
comes
a
up.
year? How many times a year?
That is on the operation and maintenance plan. That's going to be checked routinely with all the catch basins. I think in the beginning when you have construction, that's when the most sediment and debris gets into the system. Once it gets paved and grass is germinated, the site's stabilized, then your sediment load goes down. So the contractor is required to clean everything before leaving the site. That's going to be part of our punch list, and we review it. Then it becomes the town's maintenance. They follow the plan. It's usually six. We have a frequency on there. It may be once or twice a year, but I don't have the number on.
But is it as like if Jennifer's staff looks at it and says it looks full, then they call the guy with the vacuum truck?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Like an as-needed basis.
requirements that if it reaches a certain level, that then it needs to be cleaned, or it's probably low enough that it can be wait till the next
Right, yeah.
inspection. But there's a frequency on there for everything from the water quality structures to the catch basins. And so what this tier of systems, this multi-level of measures, everything that is coming off that site is going to drastically be reduced as to what ties into the roadway system. So there's going to be a significant improvement. None of that's there now.
Right, there's no drainage system.
Yeah, so it gives them a better chance of protecting or at least preventing what gets into the roadway system and out to the marina. That sediment, the fine sediment, that's what's been a long-standing problem, the dredging that's going to be required. Those are the sediments that keep getting out. Not to say that the roadway system has its own sediment, of course, but
Great.
we're at least cutting this out of the equation from what's polluting the marina or
Because, so,
contributing to it.
two things. One is, I mean, if you go there now, and maybe it's not this time of year, but in certain times of year, there's 1 million seashells in that parking lot because the seagulls drop the clams and they eat the stuff. So do you envision that the Parks Department's going to have to clean it out in the spring before the summer season, the beach opens, and then at the end of the summer season when the beach closes? Is that twice a year?
Yeah, usually there's
Part of
usually a spring and fall where they determine, know,
Right.
is the best time to do it.
And then the second piece is, you know where we said the water comes in to the catch basin, goes out by the boat dock? The last thing I would want to see is all that seagrass and those I guess it's seagrass and the high things with the tail on top, that those things start dying because the water's coming out of that pipe that's contaminated, kills the plants. That's not going to happen, right? You're the engineer.
It's the sediment. We're talking about what drains from this parking lot into the roadway system.
But I'm talking about what goes from the roadway system back into the sound.
Into
by
the
boat dock.
marina.
Right.
Where it outlets.
Correct.
Right. That's a 36-inch pipe
Right.
in the road, and that's taking a whole other roadway system that continues beyond the parking lot.
Okay.
But, this, obviously, it's an improvement to what's coming off that site, and there will be a significant reduction from there. It's not solving the entire puzzle or problem, but it's going to be, that's a major contributor, obviously, because of all the sand, oils, and so forth.
Yeah, okay.
It's a big pollutant generator.
Okay, fantastic. Any questions from the public because of what he just said? Okay. Then Jennifer, can I ask you, thank you very much. She's good, right? Jennifer, can I just ask you a question? I'm a member of the boat club, and I go there a lot, and I leave my trailer there in the spring and the fall. Have you guys thought about that? Because in the summertime, there are people that launch their jet skis and people from out of town that launch their boats. I mean, I know I asked this question of your predecessor once before. How many of those boat launch things do you guys sell per year? I've got one on my boat, but if you drop your boat in before May and pull it out after November, you technically don't have to have one. So most people cheat and don't get it. I pay the $30 and get it.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't have the number off the top of my head. I know it's not a huge number that do it. And certainly all of this is going to need to be well coordinated and well thought out in terms of the planning and the timing as we go through.
But I'm worried about the trailer parking, because on that spot where my kid jumps over the fence and goes through the gates, that's where all the trailers line up.
Right, but you're talking about during the construction?
No,
process?
during the regular summer season. You go there July 15th, 2026, you're going to see, 3 trailers there.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because on your plan, you don't have, it's along this front, you don't have like quote unquote trailer parking.
Kind of along the roadway
area.
Do you have
Did that come up at all in your meetings at all?
We had discussed about the desire to have additional trailer parking basically along that island we've been talking about for the plantings for so long. And at the time when we were looking at the plan to reduce the overall impervious area, that was the area that was seen as less necessary to give an overall net reduction in impervious area. In terms of parking, I think your predecessor had talked about the possibility of restricting trailer parking in the lot because it is going to be a higher demand, Great Island, other users, so it's kind of parking as a premium and not to have trailers parked there. But I don't think a policy or an action had been made since the project has not gone beyond this point yet. So that's going to be a topic definitely for discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll have to talk that through with the commission, our Parks and Rec commission.
Okay. Because like it's when I put my trailer in there summer, I dart to the boat club before the dude inside the guardhouse could chase me. Because someone else is coming in and I leave it there. When I come back, there's 3 other trailers next to me. Colin, how many spaces do you need?
That's tough to say. I mean, it really depends on the day and could be.
You mind? I mean, you got the harbor master sitting right next to you, John. You ready?
I know. He's grabbing me.
Can you just come up to the podium?
Just for the record, please. I just need to catch it for the record.
Just come to the podium, Colin. I mean, you brought up the idea. It's a great thing, but
I know. I
if
brought
we're
it up,
going to require that trailer parking, we got to get it on the plan.
Yeah, and I want to point out that it's not all boat club members. It's it's a lot of outside people too.
It's outside people that do.
But personally, I've seen as many as 4 or 5 trailers there on a sunny Saturday.
Right.
And that's even currently it gets a little jammed up there. So
Right.
if you're going to make it even tighter, we're going to have that going to have an issue there. But can you squeeze people? Is there an overflow spot? Can we use the other side of the parking lot, sort of down towards that barbecue picnic area? If there's no cars there, I don't know.
On the plan, there's a tree right there. I don't know.
See no trail.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's an operational issue for the beach, but if you launch your boat and you leave your trailer there, you can't have no trailer park. What are you gonna do? Drive it to Hindley School and walk back?
It's not our problem.
I do it once a year. I do it twice a year.
Plenty of parking lots.
I mean, maybe it's something we look at this summer, and see, try to count or have the guard check guy count how many trailers are there at one time, but.
You can always make a change to the application if you deem it necessary. Because we're not worried, no one's arguing about the 203 parking spaces. Okay. Anybody else have any questions on this application? I think we got everybody. Jeremy, you, Fred, you guys good?
Good.
Yep.
Any last calls from the applicant? No? Harbor Master's good?
I'm good.
There you go. Okay, with that said, entertain a motion to close. Adam makes a motion. I think Jamie made the second. All in favor?
Hearing's closed.
Hearing's closed. Thank you, everybody, for your time on this. It's going to be a great project. Number 451, land filling regrading application number 580, PL 24-165, David and Delice. Can you guys just bring that conversation outside? Let's see. Hey, Doc.
Can everybody
Doc,
leave, please? Who's not part of the next application?
we're going to keep the moving here so you can talk after. David and Delice Bolotin at 150 Pear Tree Point Road. Proposal to construct a new pool, patio, and retaining walls to perform related site development activities, including the regrading of the property to accommodate the improvement and installation of stormwater management. The 1.0 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the east side of Pear Tree Point Road, approximately 850 feet south of its intersection with Crane Road, and is shown on Assessor map number 60 as lots 42 in the R1 residential zone. Jeremy, Fred, what do we got?
Yeah, Steve, this is a project, as you noted, to construct a pool and patio on the existing developed property. The pool, spa, water feature, terrace walls, and utility platform in connection with the improvements have been designed in accordance with sections 820 and 850 of the Darien Zoning Regulations under our flood damage prevention and landfilling regrading applications. The application was referred out to Joe Canis of Ty and Bond. He actually submitted comments for the record in connection with an EPC, environmental protection permit, that was approved by that commission back in November of '24. He did submit a comment for the record dated January 2nd, noting no further information is requested as part of the application. The application was also referred out to the building department. Mike Vitti, the building official, submitted an email dated December 5th for the record, noting no comment on the application. It was also referred out to the health department. The health department issued an email for the record dated December 4th, noting that septic review would be necessary for the existing on-site septic system. And tonight we have Andy Sumalides here to present the details of the application and answer any questions that the commission has.
There's a frequent flyer we'd like to see. Welcome, sirs. Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Sure. For the record, my name is Andy Sumalides, Soumelides, with Landtech. I'm a principal and professional engineer out of Westport.
You can't get a house in Darien?
What's that?
Can't get a house in Darien?
We have a house in Darien.
Oh, okay.
Seymour.
Oh, yeah. You
That's
bought
us too.
them, right?
Yeah. Should be quick. So just to get you, you're pretty familiar after the previous hearing. We're right across the street from that parking lot. This here is the subject property. It's 1 acre, partially within the coastal flood hazard area. So that's why we're before you here. As mentioned by Fred, we went through EPC, we went through a couple of hearings and through the ringer there to get to where we are today, which is almost like going through the flood board there, honestly. So there's some, here in orange, there's some off-site wetlands. This line here is the wetland setback. In red here, you'll see that's the building setback. Here's the existing house with existing patio. So it's kind of shoehorned in. So that's kind of the only real location. It's a very small pool. The pool is 10 by 22 with a small spa off of it. There is a freestanding wall behind the pool. It kind of incorporates a water feature and an aesthetic to the project, and a very small patio that surrounds the pool. Overall, impervious surfaces is a little over 1,000 square feet to reduce the impact from stormwater. With that, we're proposing adding on to the existing drainage system in the front here. So we're looking at 6 concrete galleries, small galleries in the front. The property is on septic also. That's another thing here. There is sewer available, but currently on septic and is going to remain on septic. So that in a nutshell is the proposal. This is a nice little visual done by the landscape architect that kind of shows you what this is going to look like.
You didn't say anything about the fire pit chimney.
And the fire pit chimney, which is incorporated into that, freestanding wall.
Yep.
Kind of creates this nice backdrop looking out over the rear of the property.
Are those pervious pavers you're putting down, or are they empty?
No, it's regular.
Okay.
Regular pavers. And there's trench drains around it, picking up all the runoff and directing it to the front here.
You got an acre of land, you don't have a lot coverage problem at all, right?
No.
I don't think so.
That's it.
I'm
Any
going to ask you a
questions?
couple snowball questions. It's the pool's heated, right? The spa's heated? So I saw that the pool equipment, but I didn't see where the propane tank was. There's a propane tank all the way to the west?
There's existing propane tanks.
Yeah, it's by your finger right there. That's
There's
it's on
one
Seymour
here.
survey. No, there's another one further to the west.
There's one here.
It's near a generator pad.
Could I address that?
You can come up.
Okay.
Sure.
The Boltons are here.
But I was
Forgot to
just
mention
trying to
that.
say, if you're piping gas from one of those tanks all the way over to the pool, I mean, that's, the whole length of the property. Go ahead.
Just state your name for the record, because it's a new application, please.
Property owner David Bolotin. We're looking at the feasibility of tying the 1,000-gallon berry tank in the front yard and running a line back to the heater.
So you are going to run the whole thing? Okay.
We're looking at it's the other contingency plan is to put a tank in the jog of the property in the far back. Did I say that right?
Yeah. This piece back here. There's a little finger here.
We're working with Hoyt Gas as far as setbacks and pads and all that. The most preferable thing for us is use the existing 1,000-gallon tank in the front yard.
Yeah, we're trenching to the front to bring the drain line all the way here. So we're trenching through there anyway, so we could run a very similar trench for the gas. And the pool equipment is elevated above the base flood, and forgot to mention that, yeah.
So, because I saw the one and there was no other tank, so if you're going to do it, that's fine. If you do put in a new tank in there, it's got to be buried also.
Right.
Because we passed the zoning code not too long ago that any tank can't be visible from the street. So maybe you have 2 tanks. Is there a third one on yours?
There's one here.
Because you have 2 different tanks at 2 different locations on 2 different plans. One's on the Seymour plan, one's on the other plan, in a different spot. So that's the snowball question of how you're going to heat that pool equipment. If you're running a line, you're running a line. That's okay. But if you're putting in a tank, we have to have that marked on the survey, right, Jeremy? Was it going to bury in the tank?
Well, if you're going to need a permit for the tank, which will then, underground tanks just need to meet a 10-foot setback on the sides. Above-ground tanks, as you said, there's a number of restrictions and limits. Now, again, if the tank's in the flood zone, that's a whole different story. Underground tanks will need to be properly strapped and designed. Above ground, similarly on a platform. So.
Are there restrictions on how close drainage galleries can be to a propane tank? Because it looks like the new proposed galleries are right next to that propane tank that's already buried in the front. Looks like it's here and here.
Oh, I see it, yeah. No, it's on our map too. Here's the buried propane tank. Separating from drainage, no. Separating from septic, yes.
Okay.
This septic's over here, right?
Yeah.
This is drainage, okay. All right, what else? So and then on one of your plans, you have, I guess that's a septic system in front. Are you just putting a fence around it for construction purposes? Is that what it is?
This here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the septic, there's 2 galleries here and actually 2 galleries back here.
So you're just fencing that in
And there's
temporarily?
a tank and pump chamber kind of under the new walk. Yeah, so it's a
Okay.
temporary fence around it so it doesn't get
Okay. And
run
then you're
over with
doing
heavy
some other
equipment.
planking to be over an existing drainage system in the middle?
Correct, so that's why we did concrete galleries also here, because there's gonna be heavy, this is gonna be the heavy equipment access way. There's existing concrete galleries, so it's nice to mimic that as well. And then for added protection, we're gonna plate it during construction.
And that's all just temporary during construction?
Yeah, that's just temporary plating.
Okay.
And Shoreline Pools is the contractor
Yep.
doing this.
We saw that. Are there any significant regrading going on, just what's the little stuff that's over here?
No,
Is there
very
a
minor.
net cut and fill coming in?
It's very minor, yeah.
Okay. Any questions on this one? Jamie, you want to go first?
I'm just looking at the planting right now. There's nothing being removed, right?
In terms of plantings?
Uh-huh.
No. We're adding 29 shrubs and 6 trees.
Yeah.
For 1,000,
Plan.
for 1,000 square feet, yeah.
Well, you drew it.
We did.
EPC made you do a planting plan for this thing?
Uh-huh.
Now, you are good, the driveway on the left is going right between the 2 existing trees.
Correct.
There's 2 trees on that left side, you're going right in between.
Right. And this is that parcel that the Boltons don't know the address to, that they own also.
That's kind of cool. It's Assessor's Lot 41. You're paying taxes on it, sir. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Parker for the Boat Club.
Sell it.
Trailer
George, you
parking.
good?
This is my opportunity to clarify, where is it that the sand goes on your property? You said behind your house or something?
Where's the front of the
Or is it the separate vacant lot?
But if you're going to answer the question, either he can answer it or you can answer it.
I wasn't hired for that.
On the driveway?
We're directly across the street from the beach, and the sand just comes easterly into our property,
To your driveway,
all the way up the driveway to the back.
to the back? I mean, is that going to
To your new
implicate
pool?
the pool somehow?
We hope not. The pool's going to have a cover,
Okay.
keep it closed.
But it's got to get around, it through the house.
Yeah, this is the driveway entrance to
Right,
the parking lot.
okay.
Okay.
Across the street.
All right, well, I understand that now. Thank you. No other questions, that's fine.
Adam?
Unrelated or anything for you, for staff, can we, if we do close it tonight, we can still add the EPC approval to the record? Since
Yes,
it's a town
yes.
form? Just, I think it'd be good to have that, since Candace's comments are basically saying it hasn't changed since the EPC plan, but it's not mentioned here what that is.
We'll make sure that's uploaded tomorrow morning.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah, other than that, no.
Amy? I'm good. Good. Would anybody in the general public like to speak to this application? Aldo's still here. There you go. All right.
Aldo Crisco, I live at 17 Crane Road.
Welcome, sir.
Just a quick question. What is the setback from the edge of the pool to my property line right next door? Couldn't tell.
Where's Aldo's house? Aldo's right there.
So you're here. So.
He's got a setback box.
40 feet.
What is it in an R1 zone, the setback 30?
40 feet. Now, what's interesting here is that's a side yard setback of 25 feet. So That proposed wall looks to be about 27, 28 feet from what looks to be some kind of fence along your shared property line?
Yeah, there's that fence here.
Right, yeah.
And then this, the all new plantings in here.
And then there'll be some plantings.
It looks like there's a call out for 30 and a half feet.
Yeah, it's the
30
corner of the pool
Thank
is,
you, Adam. 30 feet.
yeah, it's the corner of the pool is 30 feet 5 inches, and then the other corner of the spa is 33 feet.
Now, the way they've designed the pool, Aldo, is that wall will hide most of the pool.
Right.
So you're gonna see the chimney from your house. You see white smoke, it's a good thing. You see black
We'll
smoke.
cook 'em some
like public
pizzas.
house. There you go. There's your pizza oven, man. Any other questions from for this applicant? No? We good? We miss anything, gentlemen? Just putting in a pool, you got a long run to get to your pool, but it's gonna be nice when it's finished. And you're putting all kinds of fences and steel plates and protective stuff to do. So, looks good to me. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Motion to close, please. George makes the motion. Amy, you been in the game yet? Amy makes the second. All in favor? Thank you. Hearing's closed. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
What else do we have tonight? Okay, next, mandatory referral. Sure. Wow, we get Jennifer back again.
Non-conforming shed on their property.
Who's that?
We close the property line now.
Why don't you bring it called out, man?
I didn't even notice it until George just told me.
See, George, I'm sure it's legally. We'll talk about him later. He's white guy. It's going bananas around here.
Zoning enforcement agent out there.
All right, next time on the agenda. All right, next up on the agenda, mandatory referral number 1, dash 2025, PL 25-7, Town of Darien, Pear Tree Point Beach, 139 Pear Tree Road. Request for a report regarding substantial improvements to town property under Connecticut General Statute 8-24. Deadline to issue a report is February 18th.
Right. So I put it in your packets, if you will, or uploaded online, the state statute 8-24, which says that no municipal agency shall substantially improve any park or playground without a report from planning and zoning reporting on whether that improvement is consistent with the town plan. So Jennifer Fava is here. She did submit a number of pages from the town plan. As we discussed earlier, much of this is a coastal resiliency project. So there were a number of pages from the last town plan regarding coastal resiliency and recommendations, which are, I'll call it page 100 onward. There's some other pages from the town plan regarding public access for boating. And as you recall, they're trying to improve the boat ramp. And enhancing and protecting the beaches and protecting the coastal resources, et cetera. So I think this is pretty self-explanatory. The way it works is the commission has 35 days from the date of submittal to issue a report. Usually, I think that I can only think of one occasion where the commission's really wanted to have a public hearing, because the way the statute envisions it, it should be obvious. The town plan, and you just have to work off that. So
You also issue reports in 24 hours, too.
Right, sometime. So usually what would happen is you discuss it tonight, and staff would draft a report for your review in an upcoming meeting.
Fantastic.
Don't know if you have any questions. You can certainly ask Jennifer or myself. Or
These are the one-page referrals we've done before, right?
yeah, most of the referrals are one, maybe
Paragraph.
2 pages maximum. In the many years, we usually do about 3 to 5 of them a year.
Yeah, we've done a bunch of these before.
And
But I think Great Island was 1 page.
Yeah. Some of them get a little complex, but I think in this case it's fairly straightforward, but I leave that up to the commission.
Jen, this came from Jen Charnesky, not you, right?
Correct.
Yeah, you're Jen.
I'm Jennifer Fava, Parks and Recreation, and this is Jennifer Chinesky, our town
So you want to just
administrator.
explain 2 seconds? We get it.
Sure. I mean, Jeremy did a fantastic job explaining it, but again, this is just about the project that we've just been talking about for quite some time. Not only does this match the POCD, but there is also a page in there that pertains back to the 2018 Parks Master Plan, where a lot of these items that are part of this project were incorporated in that, and kind of where it all came from. So I think it does go back and lend itself to trying to meet the POCD as well as the Parks Master Plan.
And that's the last attachment. I
That
thought
last
this was new.
page,
It's
yep.
page 69 out of the Weston and
Correct.
Sampson master
Yeah,
plan.
so if you, as you see, accessibility to park, adding
Curbs, ramps, and
accessibility, the
parking.
parking lot, regrading to correct drainage issues, the picnic area, trees, adding trees, replacing trees, the boat ramp, reconstructing the boat ramp. So really, a bulk of this is all pertains to this application.
Congratulations, you're doing what you're supposed to do. Look at that.
We try.
That's cool.
We try.
Any questions for the applicant on this one?
Nope.
Fantastic. All right. There's no in the comment. We got Lori back there. So I would motion to, look for a motion to direct staff to draft a positive report to this. You want to make that? George made the motion, Adam just made, you got it. You got it first.
Okay.
All in favor?
So we'll draft something for your review next week or the week after?
Fantastic. Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're all done.
Thank you.
All right, Dave did a great job. You lost your partner in crime. Next item on the agenda is land filling regrading application number 559 PL 23-186, Thomas and Katherine, I'm going to say Meyerer, at 12 McLaren Road, requested extension of time for their project. These guys are building a pool. The letter that was sent in said there was a change in employment for one of the people that live in the house that are doing the pool. At the end, it said something about they want a 5-year extension. I didn't get that.
2 years.
There was an EPC approval in connection with this, which lasts 5 years.
Okay.
They're looking for a 1-year approval, 1-year extension of time for the P&Z approval.
Because right now it's a 1-year time. Do you want to give them 2 just for kicks?
Yeah,
Or
I
just wanna
was
give them
thinking of the beach. I think they asked for a 2-year
Yes,
approval, didn't
you're
they?
correct, George.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but this one, no, if they didn't ask for it, then
just give them 1 year.
I
Okay.
think so.
I was gonna say
Within the
give them 2.
EPC window, I'm fine with that.
Oh, all right, that's,
I would give them 2, just to be nice. Does he
It's up to you guys.
yeah.
I think you give him what he requested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give them 1, they come back a second time. Jamie, you want to break the tie?
1.
1. Wow, that's cool. You got 2 twos?
I think you give him what he
All right,
requested, you know?
He asked for 1, give him 1. Hopefully he gets the job already. Okay, can I get a motion to give this gentleman this is a general meeting, so we need a motion to give this gentleman a 1-year extension?
Oh, we don't need a motion.
Yeah,
General meeting.
Yeah, but we usually, we straw vote on these things.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
I guess you just did.
Okay. She made the motion, and Amy made the second.
I'm totally
All in
confused.
favor? 1-year extension. Fantastic.
Anyway, yeah.
Go with it.
All right. The next item on the agenda is deliberation only on any public hearing closed this evening. Do we want to talk about any of these things? I mean, some of these are kind
Well,
of easy.
what we have, it's up to you. Certainly, we're not going to have anything ready for next week.
Great.
But certainly, next week's meeting is just one public hearing. So there'll be plenty of time to just deliberate on numerous items. We have that on the agenda
We
for
could
next
probably
week.
deliberate on Maslin's, it'll take
Yeah,
2
you
minutes.
want-
Yeah, if you want to.
Bang that out.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
whichever ones you want. You want to start with
Okay,
the
we're
easy
going to
one?
deliberate on proposed amendment to the Darien Zoning Map, COZM, number 1-2025 PL 24-160, put forth by 328 Hoyt Street LLC. It's a proposal to move the lot line.
Mhm.
Any
Yeah,
questions?
Very straightforward.
All good.
All good, all
Amy
good.
made a motion to approve
Yep.
as.
Nope, we're going
application
to
progresses.
instruct staff to draft.
Instruct staff to draft a
Awesome.
motion. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yep.
That's
Okay.
good.
that's
Instruct
good.
staff to draft a resolution for that.
Good enough.
Pear Tree Point will skip, and we're going to do that. The pool's fine. Great, we'll do that next time.
Yeah.
And then Pear Tree Point just did that. All right, Chairman's report. what do we have? In the last week, I've had 3 meetings with various groups. One was I went to a meeting with 2 of our state reps, which is the Tracy Mara and Tom O'Day. Then we had a meeting with the RTM PZ&H meeting. The question relative to the PZ&H, and I also did meet with the Darien Republican Town Committee. The big question that's for P&Z is people want to get involved with their helping out with the town plan of conservation and development. So at the end of the day, it's our document, we do it. If someone wants to come and sit in the hearing or speak at a public hearing, they're more than welcome. The question is just how are they going to reach out to the different factions of life. What I said to the people at PZ&H was that, they might do SurveyMonkey, they might do paper surveys, they might things in public. They're going to do all kinds of avenues. It's really, we're going to see them next week at our meeting. If any of you guys have a special way to survey the town people and get their opinions, we'll tell them, and I'm sure they'll do it.
Yep, we're going to talk a lot about public outreach, and also, is it possible for the consultant to make themselves available to people? Be in town hall,
right.
One day where people can just, not everyone's willing to come up to a podium on TV. Sometimes people just want to have a conversation. Hey, what about, or run ideas past them. So certainly there'll be ample opportunities. I think the commission made it clear that we're the 6 elected folks who have been tasked with this. The consultant, Neil Desai from Hardesty in Hanover, will be here next Tuesday night, the 28th, and talking about the town plan, the next steps, setting up the website, public outreach. I was just talking to Neil today about taking a look at the existing plan, talking a little bit about that, so it'll be good.
The thing that I told some of these groups, some of the groups, I'd like the consultant to go to their meeting, like them to go to the next scheduled PZ&H meeting. The people from Commission on Aging, they really want them to go in to see the Commission on Aging, which is fine. Other groups, if Neil sets up, sits in, what's that room, 119 down there?
Yeah. And
you can have some commission come in at 9 o'clock, another one come in at 10 o'clock, and one come at 11 o'clock. I think that gets those guys on there. I mean, I remember last go around, first time I met with Flip Hufford was here.
Right, Coastal Advisory. Yeah.
Right, they came to us, and then the first time I met the guy from Cemetery Commission, whatever that is.
Right,
Was
the
it this
Beautification Cemetery came out and spoke. I know it's important for Neil to reach out to department heads. You can see, for example, tonight, hey, what are you looking at in terms of your capital request going forward?
Right.
What improvements do you see for, whether it's the beaches, the parks, whatever it is? Yeah.
Great. And the thing, we had an OPC meeting this afternoon, which is Operations and Planning Committee. It's that committee, I think, right? We're doing our town plan of conservation development, which is due in June of 26.
Yes.
Parks and Rec has their 10-year master plan due in like 26, 27 or 28, something like that. So I'm trying to, you don't want to spend money you don't have to. So I don't know if they're going to follow us.
Yeah, Great Island's working on a plan as well, George.
Yeah.
You're correct.
So
blend them all.
yeah, somewhere, I mean, we're paying a lot of money for all these things. You don't have to have 3 different consultants doing 3 of the same exact project. That's kind of wasteful to me. So that's one thing that can't happen.
Contract all done with these folks? No hiccups?
I believe the contract's signed, and it's just a matter of Neil kind of getting it, and he'll mention it more next week in terms of what they do, what they think works, what's worked in other communities, how they want to get this jump-started. Publicity is a big part of this.
Is that to be baked into the contract, or
that's baked in.
Oh, okay. So it's not quite done.
Oh, the contract?
No, the contract goes, I think, I didn't see it, but his proposal was like, they're allotting 10 hours for this at $50 an hour and 12 hours of this.
Yeah, I'm just confused. Either they're going to ask us about that, or they've already resolved that, and it's in the contract.
No, that's in the contract, but if they only use 8 hours on something, and you have 2 hours extra,
whatever.
it can move around.
But they're still trying to decide like how they're going to do it.
I don't think it was specified in the contract. I think there's still a little flexibility. So as Steve said, hey, if we want you to go around and meet with people or have them come in and meet with you, I think that was fairly, to me, my opinion was fairly successful last time.
Yeah, it was really-
Where people were, you know, you can imagine if every board, and there's 50 to 60 boards, come in here for half an hour, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
gotta be-
not enough time in the day.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, it's not a fixed price contract.
Yeah, whatever. If it's done, it's done.
What else? The one thing I want to see if I can punt it for you, do you want to say anything about what the Blight Commission's doing?
I'm happy to, if you'd like to know. Yeah, I think there is some attention, public attention will be made to the fact that we, as a Blight Review Board, did recommend to the Board of Selectmen that they proceed with foreclosing on 2 specific properties which are currently not inhabited, so they are vacant. They are very old concerns of ours, one from 2017, one from 2021, I think it is. And I understand that this morning the Board of Selectmen approved that recommendation, and they are moving forward to foreclose on those particular properties. There are other properties that we think the remedy may be the same, but one step at a time, we're going to start with those 2.
Yeah, John said that you guys voted unanimously, and
Oh, yeah.
the Board of Selectmen voted unanimously this morning, too.
Yeah, and we had done it previously, but we've now got a 4th member of our board. We should have 5, but the 5th is from the
Jim
human.
Cameron, right?
Jim is now our 4th for representative for the RTM. We don't have one from the Human Services Council, but that's a whole different subject, so we're moving ahead with the 4. And we renewed our recommendation, given the 4th person in Mr. Cameron. So, yep, it's,
Okay. So that's that. The other thing that Jeremy and I were working on, I think I mentioned this last time, we did it a couple of years ago, which were initiatives and achievements for the commission for the year. We did it in the past. Jeremy shot me a draft of what we call initiative and achievements, so if we could put that, I didn't go through with the fine tooth comb, but it's some ideas that I have like in my head, which is like defining system and other, we did the...
Yeah, zoning citations was certainly one of them. There were a couple others, but it kind of looks back at, hey, what did we do in the past year? What are we doing? Obviously, the town plan's a little different. That's certainly on the list. So it varies year by year. Certainly almost every year, especially in a long legislative season, monitoring, because it's a 6-month thing. It goes from January to June almost. So that, I remember that being on it, but certainly we can discuss that next week.
The other thing that the questions that came up to me recently is the ADU counts. People are trying to get a handle on, you know, how many came in, how many replied, you know.
We'll have that ready for next week.
Okay. And then
small ones.
the other item was what I would like to do is we're not. I'm never going to say we're chasing moratorium points. We're chasing affordable housing, but I would like to know if everything that's out there gets built and approved, how close we are to a moratorium, because all of our peer towns either have them or getting them, absent Greenwich. Greenwich can never get one because the town's too big. But I got asked that 3 times, if we can, you know, start to figure that process. I know it's hard, and I know it's not easy, because you have no idea who the residents that are going to live inside Heights Crossing, which is an extra amount of ground. You don't know who's going to live inside, but you only have 2 that are coming in Corbin.
Right.
So you can kind of guesstimate.
Right. We're able to, now, of course, without keeping you here all night, New Canaan, for example, I was just reading what they submitted today. They had 2 projects, felt 2 projects got them over the top, and of course,
somebody sued.
Somebody appealed, and so who knows where that's going. But certainly, we'll have, you know, part of the problem, which I realize is, this commission has approved numerous projects, including affordable housing, many of which don't get built.
Right.
So that's what the legislators don't understand. You can approve them all day, every day, but if they never get built,
you don't get any points.
You don't get any points. You don't get any credit.
Yeah.
So that's the frustrating part. I think we have 6 or 7 projects that are not off the ground.
Great.
Oh, really?
And then the other item is,
Yeah, that's one.
I mean, Me personally, it's one of my goals is to get more money into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And we approved Chip Platt's thing at 7 Sedgwick.
Yeah.
I heard that might actually go condos, is what.
Yes.
is the case.
Foundation is.
Yeah.
Foundation, they're moving,
Yeah.
albeit slowly.
But relative to that, we're gonna get round figures, 900 or $1 million from that
Yep.
project that comes into the Housing Trust Fund. You don't get moratorium points for that until the town spends the money and builds them.
All right.
You know, but if everything moves forward and the Board of Selectmen or somebody identifies a site, you know, that you can see that money is put to work. And we're not gonna get that money from him until they get TCFOs, right?
Which, well, today is January, I would guess best case would be December.
Great. And then it just goes into the fund and it sits there until somebody spends it. So that's one thing I want to figure out too.
But the town doesn't spend money from the fund, we spend it from the general fund, and then it gets reimbursed from the affordable fund, right?
Well,
Imagine if the town found a place tomorrow.
Yeah.
Would they have to wait till January? That was exactly however much Sedgwick is coming in, 900.
If it went like that, if the town identified a site and bought it tomorrow for $900,000, they can buy it out of the general fund and then
Get
the housing.
reimbursed once the money comes in,
Correct.
right? Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Because there's state involvement, right, then with the fund too, right?
What's that?
Isn't there state involvement then with that the committee around now?
No.
It depends
It's
on
a
the
town
situation.
fund. No, it's a town fund. Where the state comes in, but it's really not even a state entity, is the Darien Housing Authority.
Right.
That's a state-sanctioned thing, so it's not controlled by the Board of Selectmen, it's not controlled by us. They can do whatever they want, and they can float bonds. The two applications, one was the Housing Trust Fund. They get applications for people that say, hey, can we have your money? When the Royal was built, which is Old Town Hall Homes, they asked for the money, and the town gave, and the Housing Trust Fund gave it to the Darien Housing Authority. But if the Darien Housing Authority if the project comes up and the town wants to do it, my best guess is that the Darien Housing Authority would be the builder, or it could be a where the two are now, between like Imagineers or a guy that's good at that stuff, and the Darien Housing Authority, because the Darien Housing Authority partners with, Imagineers is the management company.
Usually they partner, but they don't always have to.
It's JHM. But yeah, they can apply for it, you can give it to them. The only other one, we're getting a lot of phone calls on there's the two buildings that are on Heights Road that are for sale, which is, I want to call it 80, 90, and 100, that's really not the addresses. But some people have, reached out to me, I immediately sent them to Jeremy, because that's kind of a clean, it's kind of a clean slate, you don't know what you can build there. Right. Because it is inside the Roten overlay zone, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the old empty computer building, the brick building on the adjacent property, and then the vacant parking lot with the big pothole in the middle.
Right. So that's on the market for sale, so people say, hey, what can you build there? And I go, I have no idea. I have no idea. But they do ask for directions, you want, this, and this. I think even the Darien Land Trust is looking at buying it.
That's the rumor. I hear a lot of rumors. I don't know what to believe.
Okay, you want to buy something good to park that yourself out, it's whatever. But the only thing that I've said that it as per the zoning code, it has to have some sort of retail on the ground floor. It isn't, we know it's in a flood zone. You can either have apartments upstairs or office upstairs. Me personally, I think we have enough apartments already in the docket. I'd rather see something different than apartments there, but we'll see, it's not our call.
A lot of people have come to us with different ideas.
Yeah. I think that's it for me. Any questions at this point in time? I think I'm done. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Okay. What else? Director's report, anything special?
No.
You good? All right. Upcoming meetings, January 28th. That is the Town Planner Conservation.
Yes.
Meeting. Are they going to go first on the agenda?
Well, we have one public hearing, so we haven't figured out who's going first yet.
Okay. And then after that is February 4th?
Yes.
My brother's birthday is February 1st.
I was wondering that.
Yes, February 4th.
No Amy, February 4th.
Yeah, I had a sense of that. I don't
I'm
know
gonna
why.
ask you when your birthday is, I'm sure advertise that.
Good.
No, I'm sorry. 4th is fine.
Stop.
4th
Okay.
is fine.
You're out the 11th, right?
February 4th, I'm here. It's the,
It's the 4th we
it's
get
the
to deliberate
11th
on.
that I
No,
will not
Amy,
be here.
February 11th. Okay,
February
good.
11th.
Me too. I'm out the 11th.
George is out.
So
You and
4th is
George.
our, definitely have to deliberate on
You're here.
Thorndale
Yeah, we definitely have to
4th.
deliberate
on the 4th.
Okay.
on the 4th.
So,
That means I'm out.
Yep.
nice. So, okay, we'll plan accordingly. Thank you for letting us know. Helpful.
Okay. That's it for me. Any other business you want to add?
Nope.
Nothing. Okay. With that said, entertain a motion to close. Amy makes a motion. Look at that. Right? Jamie makes a second. All in favor?
Adjourned.
Meeting's closed.